you specialize in?
Most of my clients
Well, good. Good. So, friends, we're going to get started.
but they were all adults.
Terry Cummings, our productivity coach, is going to teach Win the Seller. I'm going to bring you one or two more of those.
Okay, awesome.
And let's see, Amina's here. Let me
Do
There's
some
a lot of
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to know too.
Is everybody signed in and got
everybody else?
an
Yeah.
evaluation? Okay. Last class.
Okay.
All right, I'll pop in with more things once I print.
What time is virtual?
11:30.
Okay.
on.
Okay.
Now, we have a treat in that we have a vendor bringing lunch today.
What?
And it's our professional photography vendor, Virtuance. And Jennifer Armistead is wonderful. She'll just introduce her company,
Okay.
which is very groovy. I have used them twice for my listings. And she'll bring lunch. So she'll come and set up about 11:30 so you can figure break. And usually what we do is, go break, use the restroom, make your plate, sit back down, and then she'll talk. So it's perfectly fine eating while she's talking. Yeah.
You look so cute today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Your necklace.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, she's styling.
Styling on Monday.
And she has your wrist. You went fighting yesterday.
Oh, you weren't.
Oh, yeah.
You didn't do Fight Club this week.
Yeah, that's exactly. Hey. Yeah, so swelling's down a lot. I did a lot of resting and icing my hand. So my stitches come out next Monday. And I can almost straighten my finger.
There you go.
Making progress.
Good morning.
Erica has come in. You know, Terry, have y'all met?
No.
Oh, there's another one.
Yay.
Not leaving without an appointment.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Do you want to meet my friends?
I would love to meet your friends.
Okay, y'all, I want everybody to meet
I
Randy
know this
Lip.
friend right here.
Hi.
Awesome, Randy Lip with Certainty Home Loans.
How you doing?
And John Green, Erica Ariola,
Yeah.
Chanel
Hi,
Murphy,
Chanel.
Deborah Hughes,
Yep.
and Doreen DeFlavis?
DeFlavis.
DeFlavis. I wasn't sure how to pronounce it.
Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Awesome. So Randy is super close and
Sit next to Brad. I'm the lender in here.
Uh-huh.
Love to sit down and chat with you guys. And whether you're new or experienced, I'm sure we could share some ideas with you that might help you get you some more business.
and at the end of Ignite,
And at the end of the
on the
Ignite,
last day,
on the last day after you study all night for your test, for your final exam, we treat you to 10 Lizzie's over there for happy hour and social time. So, adult beverages, if you partake. If not, then I'm sure they have sodas too. But yeah, we treat you over there. So I love to do that. Well, you guys are in great hands. Have a good time. Just want to say hello.
Thanks.
Hello.
All right. Looks like a good class.
oh yes, and there are a few more coming,
Cool,
I'm
cool,
sure.
cool. Well, enjoy. Have a good time.
Have a good
Learn
Monday.
a lot.
That's right.
Always.
All right.
All right.
Take it away,
You guys
Terry.
ready to get started?
Yeah.
Okay, so most of you know me. I've got a couple in here that don't. Just to recap, so I've been in the business, this October will be 22 years. Yeah, it's hard for me to believe that. 22 years has gone by. So I love, love, love real estate. I've loved my career. It's been very good to me. Worked really hard. Have my broker's license as well. I've been with Keller Williams since about 2004. Opened up my first market center in 2004. And then I took care of that for about 2 years. Then I became the broker for the North Avenue office and took care of that. Then I became a productivity coach, which is definitely my thing. I love coaching my agents and love helping you guys to achieve your goals and
Good
just.
job at it.
Pardon me?
I say you do a great job at
Thank you. It's a big passion. Love to see other people succeed. So that's one of the reasons sticking with this company, because it definitely helps you to do that. So anything I can help you with, don't hesitate to let me know and get on my schedule. Coaching for you is free, which is a huge plus because real estate coaches typically cost anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000 a month, and that is only talking to them for 30 minutes every other week on the phone. So take advantage of being able to have a free coach to guide you through all kinds of different things, actually. So my office is just over there on the commercial side, and so anytime you guys are ready to, I would suggest getting through with Ignite because you're already getting a fire hose worth of information, right? And then we can get started too. Okay, so any questions so far? How was y'all's weekend?
Really good.
Really good? Really good? Okay. So are you guys, so today is Win the Seller. Okay, so we're going to go over pre-listing packet and the listing packet and then just kind of talk some strategy. It is an interactive class, so if I ask questions, be sure and, if you have something that you want to ask, be sure and stop me and ask me. And we'll just roll with it. Okay? All right. So, is everybody doing their 10-4? Okay, one person. Do y'all know what I mean by that?
No.
Your daily 10-4?
No.
Pardon me?
I forget.
Okay, you forget. Okay, so your daily 10-4 is where you're supposed to be adding 10 contacts a day to your database. Okay? And then you're supposed to be also writing 10 notes a day. 10 handwritten notes, and also since you're fairly new in the real estate industry, then it would be really good to send out, announcement cards. All right.
Those are the pre-printed?
Pardon me?
The pre-printed? Or
You
just
can get
handwritten?
pre-printed or handwritten cards from Office Depot, whatever you choose
What's
to
the
do.
4 stand for? God, the 10.
What is 4 activities? So it's 10 contacts, 10 connections, 10 notes, and then 10 homes previewed. Why do you think it would be important to preview 10 homes a day?
See what things are selling for.
See what things are selling for. Okay.
Understanding the key things to look for as far as your adjustment and your comps.
Yes, totally. All right. Just knowing what the market's doing, right? I cannot tell you how many times that I've actually been working with buyers and multiple buyers at a time, and I show one property to a couple and I'm like, oh, they don't like this, but I know who will, right? And so then I get out and get through with that appointment and I'll call them up and I'll say, hey, I think I found your house, right? And then take them over there, and sure enough. So knowing what your market is doing, plus it's kind of fun, right? Okay. So that's key. I would suggest that you don't tour all of Atlanta. Just stay within a certain mile radius of where you want to work. All right. So that you can, yes, Chanel.
I just want to recap. You said it's 10 contacts a day, 10 handwritten notes a day, 10 homes previewed a day. What was the fourth?
And 10 connections.
10 connections. Gee.
You say 10,
like a
10
lot.
homes. You're talking on the internet, right?
Pardon me?
10 homes per day. You're talking about on the internet, right?
No. I'm talking about going and physically viewing
Per
those
day?
homes. Per day.
4 days a week. Is that
Or-
So that is the suggestion.
okay?
That's a
Okay?
tough one.
Yeah,
You
it
gotta get
is.
people out of their house. You gotta be with.
Well, not everybody is still living there, but you can schedule the time to go and preview it online.
Yeah.
But just looking at homes online is not going to give you the whole picture whatsoever. It gives you a good insight, but just you don't. If you've noticed, how many of you go on FMLS quite a bit and look at houses?
I'm still trying to figure out FMLS.
Okay.
Good luck. You
All right.
still-
Is it
Yeah.
confusing to you?
Yeah.
I even took the 101 class. Of course, this guy next to me would not shut up. And I just was like, I gotta take this again. And I'm gonna sit in the front row. He was just there for his 3 credits, so he was on his computer doing other things, and
Yeah.
just every time they talk, he'd like say say something to himself, not to me. It was just like, I think it's a very complicated platform.
Really? I
For
think
people,
it's so
I think I
easy.
told you this in training one day. For people who have done it forever, it's easy
Yeah.
to you, but for brand new, because things out there on the internet are so much user friendly, I don't think it's user friendly at all. And I feel like Apple needs to get a hold of it and redesign the easy
Simplify.
to, it's too
See, I don't
complicated.
think Georgia MLS is user friendly.
I hate
Georgia
that.
MLS is.
I don't like Georgia
Oh
MLS.
no,
Yeah, it's
it
hard.
is very cumbersome, very complicated. I mean, yeah, I can't stand Georgia MLS.
Yeah.
So, but FMLS, if they typically too, Stacy will have FMLS come in here and teach a class. So, but once you get used to it, it really is user friendly. I mean, it's like it'll take you 1 minute to just view and figure out, keep using it.
Is that where you book your appointments? Is on FMLS?
Yes.
Showing
Okay,
time.
so you're showing time.
Showing time.
Showing time. So when you pull up an active listing that's in there, then at the bottom there's the instructions
On that listing.
right on that particular listing. So if they're saying to use showing time, you can actually click the link that will open up a calendar and the daily time, 9, 10, and you can put your name in there. And then the agent will notify you with a yes or no that you can view it. So it's a matter of, it takes 30 seconds to do it, honestly. It's
Yeah.
easy.
And I would suggest even putting an app on your phone, that showing time.
Mhm.
So they'll send you alerts.
There's a
and
showing time ad. I got the FMLS, but there's a
showing time.
Yeah.
Huh.
And the other
See,
thing
you
that
could teach the next class.
the other thing that's great about it too is it will text you, like when you have a listing, it will not only email you for confirmation that you can show the buyer the property, but it will also text you and ask you, when you're the listing agent, if the buyer's agent can show it. So you'll get a text too, and you can just say yes, and then it'll confirm it, and boom, you're done.
Got it.
Yeah. So it's really easy. But you do have to pay attention to the private remarks in the listing paperwork, because sometimes the private remarks, it'll say 24-hour notice needed or tenant or, so just getting familiar with all the information that's on there that the agents put in, right? So that's only on the agent full sheet, not on the buyer sheet at all. So when next time we meet, you and I can go into FMLS and look at different things, and I'll
Yeah.
show you what
I
I'm
need to
talking
spend
about.
a lot more time trying to
Yeah.
maneuver it.
Okay. So and what some of the reasons to go and view properties in person is if you notice, it looks great online, right?
Oh, yeah.
But then you pull up and the driveway goes like that, or the driveway goes like this, or the backyard is a gully. You've got
A
a
little
retention
puffy.
pond behind it. Pardon me?
Instead of a little puffing here and there, you get there, you're like, oh my god.
Yeah, totally, exactly. And you can see sometimes too that the pictures have been virtually staged. You'll be able to tell the difference between a virtually staged house on FMLS versus just your your house. So, yeah. All right.
Deceptive.
Yep. All right. So, okay. Getting your head in the game. Do you guys feel like your head is in the game this morning on Monday? Okay. All right. So, what's the importance of focusing your business on listings? Why would you want to be a stronger listing agent than a stronger buyer's agent?
Because you get 2 sales out of 1.
You possibly.
Typically.
That's a good idea. Yeah, that's a good reason.
Less time. Because
Less time.
In order to get a buyer, you on the road, you're doing this. When you're listing, you respond via email, you can be wherever.
Correct. That's
More
correct.
marketing for yourself because you're in their front yard. Your name is on the FMLS as the agent.
Also, your listing is posted on Zillow and Google Plus and Redfin and all the other
A lot of
companies
people
out
will
there
be
and
able to see your
everything.
face,
Mhm.
before you
Correct.
get
Correct. When you're working with a buyer, and you get a buyer on the contract and you go to closing, okay, that's it, right? That's it. Now you gotta go find another buyer,
Exactly.
right? When you've got listings, you know, you can start creating your own dominating, and you can start dominating a market the more listings that you have, to where you become the referral agent of that area.
How would we go about getting those listings though? Like,
There's a
Just
lot of
calling.
different ways. Stalking is
I
it?
mean, no.
You said stalking.
If you need to, that's fine.
Yeah. There's a lot of different ways to get listings. One is calling expireds and withdrawals and for sale by owners, going and knocking on doors, doing open houses. There's a lot of different avenues. Yeah. All right. So focusing on listings. So the goal would be to probably be like 70% listing agent and 30% buyer agent. Then there'll come a point in time, maybe to where you don't work with buyers at all.
I like that.
Yeah. So like on Saturday, when the lady that does my hair, she was telling me, you know, that her daughter's been having trouble looking for a house and everything, and would I work with her? And I'm like, nope, won't do it.
Why?
And she's like, what? And I'm like, nope, I don't work with buyers anymore. I just don't work with buyers. And the only way I take a listing is if it's a past client that calls me. But that's because I focus more on coaching you guys than reaching out there to get business. You know, and so I decided probably a good 5 years ago to stop working with buyers. But that was my choice. Some people really, really love to work with buyers. They prefer it more so than listings. Yeah, but when you're
But
sitting
don't you
on the
think
beach,
the last 5 years the buyers are a little more, because of technology and everything that's out there, them people see it's a little more prepared, shall I say?
To me, buyers in the last 5 years have really inflated expectations and only want to move in with their toothbrush. They don't want to do anything, right? And I guess being the age that I'm at too,
So
kind of like, come on, you know, this, you guys, is what your parents have. You cannot, you know, think, be smart about things. And it just so, I just got to the point of where I was aggravated at it and said, I'm not working with buyers anymore. But I was fortunate enough to be able to choose that. And I had a team, and so I had my team member working with the buyers.
But with that being said, don't you have to talk to your listings and say, you're going to have to change some things because buyers want to come in here and see it.
Totally.
You
But
may have to spend $5,000 painting the inside of this
correct,
house.
yeah, and we're
Because
gonna
every
talk
room's a
about that
red, a
today.
green, you know, all the
Yeah.
old colors,
Yeah.
gold.
We're gonna talk about that today, actually. Yeah, that's part of, you know, what is today about, you know, working with the seller and getting them to see things from a realistic point of view, right? Okay, so pre-qualifying the seller. There's some qualification questions that you should ask sellers. So I've got them written down for you guys. Well, here's another one. Thank you. And they're front and back. And these are just suggestions. They're not, you know, necessarily what you have to do. They're just suggestions. You're welcome. So why would it be important to have pre-qualification questions to ask a seller?
You don't waste your. That may not be a good fit for you.
Okay.
And I say that because right now I'm partnering with Amisha to sell my mother-in-law's house.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really exciting, but she's a very difficult person. Let alone to be her daughter-in-law. But
Doesn't have anything to do with you being her daughter-in-law, right?
yeah, but she's just very difficult. And if Amisha wasn't there, she probably wouldn't be the kind of person I would want to work with in a business transaction, because she's just overbearing and she doesn't listen. And like you have to tell her things over and over and over and over again. She's the one with the red paint and the green paint and the
It was all real big about 15 years ago.
wallpaper, the carpet in the bathroom, and we're like, what are you doing? And she
Yeah.
didn't want to change it because she felt like she liked it. And we were
She
like,
thought it was beautiful, yeah.
She thought it was absolutely beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, my
It was
mom is
ugly.
still into the mauve.
Yeah, so, yeah.
So,
But yeah.
all right. So, here's a couple of things. So, if someone calls in, how did you hear about me? You want to know. Why is that important?
Tracking.
Tracking, absolutely. So, you should have some type of tracking sheet so you know where your calls are coming in from. Whether it's your website, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, you know, a referral. And that's where you want to be. You want to get to the point to where your business is referral based. That's gravy. When you get to that part of your career, that's awesome. And then you've got to treat your referrals like they are gold. Okay? All right. So let me verify your information in case we're disconnected and get their email. Right? Go ahead and get. Normally, you're going to already see their phone number, but it could be an office phone number that they're calling from and not their cell number. And if you ever call back an office and say, I got disconnected from someone, and they're like, who? You get, and you don't know. So make sure to do that. Get their email. Why would getting their email be so important?
Because most of the time, that's how you're going to be communicating with them.
And they go in your database. Where are you moving? Right? What's motivating you to move? If you know the answer, then remind them of the motivation to move on to number 4. Okay, so what I mean by that is, let's say that someone calls me up and they said, we're interested in selling the house, and I ask them, where are you moving to? Oh, we're moving to Colorado. What's making you move to Colorado? My son and daughter-in-law just had our first grandchild, right? So that's an emotional reason that they're moving to Colorado. So you always want to know what their emotional reason is to move, because when you're doing that listing presentation, you're going to bring that emotion back to them, especially when it comes to price. Okay, so Mr. and Mrs. Seller, you want to move to Colorado and be there for your kids and your first grandchild, right? If we overprice this house, that's not going to happen. But if we price it correctly, then we can get you sold and get you on to Colorado possibly within the next 60 days. Would that be okay? Right. If I sell your house within 30 days and you're out of there in 60 days, is that okay? Absolutely. If that's their real motivation, right? Okay. Then you can ask them how soon they have to be there. For people that are relocating, that's very important, especially for families. Because typically a family does not want to be away from mom or dad, right? So sometimes if their house hasn't sold, one spouse or partner has to stay behind to take care of the kids. That's not always the best situation. Puts a lot of stress on the family, okay? And then again, just, if I sell your house within the next 30 days, will that pose a problem for you? And then if they answer yes, which is very rare, you'd say, what's going to be the problem? Well, some people will say, well, as you know, we're staying in the Marietta area, the Dunwoody area, Sandy Springs, and we have not been able to find anything to buy, right? So that can make people a little nervous. So you have to help them, hold their hand and help them to understand what needs to be done, right? Because a lot of people feel like they don't want to list their house to sell until they find something to buy. Doesn't work like that, folks, right? Especially if they have to sell their house to buy another house. And the majority of people do have to sell their house before they can buy another house. So then you have to explain to them, that in today's world, that no one typically is going to take a contingency upon sale of your house. They'll take a contingency upon close of your house, which is 2 different things. Okay, do y'all know the difference?
Yeah.
One's under contract, one's not.
Correct. Correct. Okay. So if we don't list your house today, and we go out tomorrow and find the house of your dreams, right? then we cannot put an offer on that house just simply because they're going to say, well, is the house listed? And we don't even have any marketing materials or anything going. Right? Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What would happen if you didn't sell your house? Why do you want to know that?
Another emotional thing?
Exactly. Another emotional thing. So here's the thing. Yes, technology is great. All right? We've got to have it. It's a necessary evil
It's draining.
in selling houses. It really is. However, they've been after our industry for as long as I can remember. My mom was a realtor, so there's always been something else saying that we were going to become obsolete. It's a personal relationship. People want to do business with someone that they trust. You cannot trust somebody if you don't have a relationship with them. That lead might come to you from the internet. It might come to you from Facebook. It might come to you from Instagram. It might come to you from LinkedIn. But you've got to create that relationship with them because this is one of their biggest investments. Whether they're spending $50,000 or $2 million, it's still one of the biggest investments to them. So how many of you would spend $500,000, just hand over $500,000 to somebody you don't have a relationship with?
Insane.
No, well,
Some people
I'm
do
sure
it.
some people have. But
Yeah. Yeah. So, you had a question, I think?
Yes, I was gonna say, as you were mentioning about the personal relationship with the clients, it's somebody that I'm meeting today, who wants to be a client, and I was on the phone with her when she first called me from a referral from somebody else, and she was just like, she made it seem as if she just wanted me to just email her and stuff like that, and I kind of made it towards by saying, I was just like, well, I'd like to meet up with you somewhere so we can go over certain guidelines and stuff. And she was like, why do you want to meet up? And I'm like, well, I'd like to meet up because, initially starting off, I want to create those relationships with my clients, you know? Like, I don't mind, like, emailing you and stuff, but, like, if you create those personal relationships, they'll remember that, And I'm driving all the way to Snellville, which I don't want to, but I feel like it's going to be worth it in the end, because she'll notice that, I came out of my way to drive to her,
Yeah, people don't remember what you do for them. They remember how you care about them. They do. They do. People always remember how you care about them. All right. How much do you want to list your house for? Why is that important? Now, remember, you're on the phone with the seller, right? Why is that important to find out how much they think they can list their
Where
house
their
for?
expectations are, if they're realistic or unrealistic.
You
Right.
gotta let them know.
Exactly.
So they're gonna be like, my neighbor's house sold for.
Right.
You don't have to say house is your neighbor.
Yeah, exactly. How much do you owe on the property? Why is that important?
And see how motivated they are.
Well, no, owe on the
Or
property.
like,
How much
see
should they
if
have?
it
what is
makes
the
sense
process?
to sell the
Like,
house.
when do you
Yeah.
process?
To see if it makes sense to sell the house at this time.
Yeah.
because-
Can they get enough money?
Correct. Yeah. However, I would say don't let that stop you because back in, I think it was back in 2012, a couple called me from our website and they said, we really need to sell our house out in Powder Springs. Okay, so pulled, I asked them how much they owed on it, pulled all the information, went and met with them, sat down with them. They were $50,000 underwater, okay? Because when the market crashed, Powder Springs really took a dive.
Wow.
And so, you guys, do you have $50,000 for the closing table? No, we're not going to do that. We'll just rent it. So then I put the house on the market for rent, got them renter, and then I put it with a property manager that was a friend of mine. So they've been renting all this time, but then in 2014, we listed their townhome to sell. So we got their townhome sold. And then in March this year, Angela called me and said, okay, we're done renting. We're done playing with these people. We're done. So can you list the house? I said, let me pull the comps and see where we're at. So remember, they were $50,000 underwater. They're only going, listed the property, got an offer on it yesterday. They're only going to net about 17,000. Okay, because that's how long that market has taken to come back up, right? So in all of this time, that, you know, and not only that, when I went to go and look at the house, oh my gosh, it was destroyed. They had to put brand new carpet, brand new paint. There were dogs in the house that were not supposed to be in the house. You know, they were only supposed to have one. There was more. They had chewed up the wainscoting in the dining room. They chewed up the windowsills. They destroyed the deck. I mean, just all kinds of things. And so, anyways, so then they had to dump a whole bunch of money back into it. And here's a lesson: when people tell you they just want to rent, here's another thing. It's a lot harder to get a renter out of your property than it is to get foreclosed on. Because, and they had to evict this last set of renters, which court cost, all of that. And then they had to hire a company to come out there and put all of their stuff outside on the driveway, which was in another $900.
Oh.
Okay. So
they gotta pay the 50.
That's my story.
You know, exactly. So I mean, you know, so just remember, like when people say that, they don't have any idea unless you're a professional. You have no idea what you're up against. You know. Is there more than one person on the title or the deed of the property? Why is that important?
Daisy chain.
Can't affect
They
the
gotta be
whole
willing to
thing.
It's going to
sign.
affect the whole thing.
Yeah.
Right. Can they sign the listing agreement? Everybody that is listed on that deed has to sign the listing agreement. Okay? All right. Have there been any additions with the property? So when you're looking at the tax records, right, and it says 3 bedrooms or 4 bedrooms, whatever, you want to make sure to ask the seller what upgrades have they done. You know, if you added on to the property, does it have HVAC running to it? Because if it doesn't have HVAC, it's not going, that square footage that they added on is not going to be incorporated. Okay? Have you done any upgrades to the bath, kitchen, etc. to the property, right? What type of flooring does the property currently have? Carpet, hardwoods, tile. How old is the flooring? What paint colors do you have throughout the house? Right? Right. Are you interviewing other agents? Why is that important?
You get the
Competition.
Okay. And do you want to be the first, the middle, or the last agent?
The first.
First,
Why? Why do you want to be the first
I
agent?
want to set the tone. I
You
want
wanna
to show
set the
that. I
tone.
want to give an impression.
Okay.
Why would you?
All right. Are you going to walk away with the listing paperwork that night?
Absolutely.
Okay, I like that confidence. Okay, I like that confidence. In my experience, it's been best to be the middle agent.
No.
The middle agent,
Okay.
in my experience.
Is like
But-
transactional?
But everybody's
Or just
different. Pardon me?
Like transactional, or what do you mean, like the middle, like
If
the one who comes
they're
in?
interviewing, let's say they're interviewing 3 agents, including myself,
Okay.
then I want to be number 2.
Oh yeah, of course, because
Mhm.
you don't want to be the first choice because they're gonna eventually look for other choices.
Mhm.
Well, you know, you have
Mhm.
to have more than one and decide.
Yeah. Usually if you're in the first, they've already committed to the 2 other appointments. You know, usually by the time you get to be the second, then they're already done. They're tired. They don't want to deal with anybody else, you know.
Okay.
And then you can say, you know, I understand you have an appointment. I'll be happy to call the other agent and let them know that I've already listed the property. Here, let's sign here.
That's so sweet of you.
Done. Are you prepared to list your house with me at the time of our appointment? 9 out of 10 times, if it's a referral that's been sent to you, they're not going to be interviewing anyone else.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Do you have any questions at this time? All right, so they do, okay. Now, here's one thing that I learned a long time ago to do, and I promise you that if you do this, if you take the time to do this, that you can win your listing every time, right? A pre-listing packet. 99% of agents do not send out a pre-listing packet, okay? if you send out a pre-listing packet, which I think we've got it up there. Did it turn on? I think it is. Okay. I think we put it up here. No, we didn't. That's the listing. We didn't. But I can share the pre-listing packet with you guys. Okay. So a pre-listing packet really cuts down on all the questions that they're going to ask you when you go to visit with them. It is also going to set their expectations, right? And if you do a really good job at your pre-listing packet, then you've won the listing because no other agents have done that.
The agent, that's not a common thing?
Not at all.
really? No.
Not at all. And it also introduces you to them too, so they can see you, your picture and all of that stuff. So some of the things that are on your pre-listing packet are going to be like a letter in the beginning that says it's all about you, talking to them. And then some of the other things, you can also get the pre-listing packet that's in KW on KW Connect. Okay, under the education tab, I believe. And like I said, I'm happy to share mine with you too. This also saves time. When you do this, then when you get to the listing, then it should only take you about an hour versus 2 hours. Okay, so to me, time is money. I don't want to sit with somebody for 2 hours. I honestly just don't. I love people, but I just have more that I want to do than sit with somebody for 2 hours trying to convince them to use me as their agent. So, and then also on my pre-listing packet, there is like 47 things listed to do to your house for showing. Like simple things like keeping your blinds open, making sure the grass is cut and all this and all the other different things. So it will really help you. And so what I used to do too is I had FedEx envelopes. I did not email my pre-listing packet because it's too big to email over. So I don't want it to go into spam, right? I don't want it to get kicked out or anything. So you can go to FedEx or UPS or wherever and get those envelopes for free. So I'm on the phone with the seller, then I verify their address and all that. I'm gonna say, I'm gonna send you a pre-listing pack, FedEx you a pre-listing packet. You should have it no later than tomorrow. Well, they got it that afternoon because I would have my runner take it over there. And I would put it in a FedEx envelope because everybody will open a FedEx envelope, will they not?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you could just go there and just
Drop it on the
for free.
doorstep. Didn't cost anything. I didn't have FedEx send it because that gets to be too expensive. Just drop it on the doorstep.
So I just walk in FedEx and say I need some of your envelopes.
Yeah, you can go to Kinko's. Is it Kinko's? What's the name of that place? now? Yeah. With the FedEx and ask them for some FedEx envelopes.
They're normally right out in the lobby. You don't even have to ask.
Yeah, you don't even have to ask for them. Yeah.
Okay, that's good to
Yeah.
know.
UPS will do the same thing.
Awesome.
All right. Yeah. And just put it in there. Drop it on the doorstep. You don't have to ring the doorbell or anything. All right. And if I tell them that you'll have it by tomorrow, but it's there today, right?
So I'm like, that was fast.
Right,
Efficient.
exactly. Exactly. And there's a lot of information in there for sellers to look at, and it answers a lot of their questions. And that's why it cuts down on the time that you have to spend with them. And there's no better, yes, John?
No, I was just gonna say, with that, do you give them a certain amount of time to fill it out and send it back to you? Or
There's
do you
nothing
get
for
it
them to
as-
fill out.
Oh, it's just information for them to read and kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
there is nothing for them to fill out. There is a couple of things for them to fill out because I send over the seller's disclosure statement with them to them in the packet, and the community association disclosure, I send that over as well. Okay. So there is no better feeling in this world when you walk in and you look at the kitchen table and they already have that seller's disclosure and the HOA disclosure filled out.
Done.
It's done.
Gotcha.
Now all you have to do is view the house and, like, give them.
Tell them they've got to
some
repaint the whole thing.
Yeah.
Do you already go ahead and do the comps on it before you come through the door, or do you wait for them to say they were going to sell with you before you start pricing the house?
No, I've already got the price in my listing agreement, what it's going to be priced at.
Oh, the
Yeah.
one, the agreement you sent over in the pre-listing package?
No, not in the pre-listing
I was
packet.
about to say, you can
No.
scare them off because they
Yeah,
got
no,
high
no, no, no.
expectations.
In my listing, in my exclusive listing agreement, I already have everything pre-typed out, including the price on that listing agreement.
And then you have to convince them of that price. What if they're, I guess if they're tough, they're tough. You just go, okay, good start, but.
It depends on the person, depends on the realtor. I will not take an overpriced listing. I will walk away every single time. Every time. Will not do it. But that's my preference. Okay? So I'll give you a great example. Walk into a house, and she was actually a referral as well. And sent over the pre-listing pack and all that, did all the pre-qualification questions that we went through. Get there on a Saturday morning, walk in, the entire house except for her son's room was avocado green, including the ceiling. Hardwood floors throughout that were so scarred and marred, there was no way in the world they could even be refinished. Because 3 boys that are in baseball running around the house while I'm there with their cleats on.
Oh my gosh.
That's insane.
Okay.
I'd be like,
Then the son's room was black, painted completely black.
that's depressing.
Then go down into the basement, and in the basement it is from floor to ceiling like fish tanks, gerbils, hamsters, spiders, turtles, everything, and it reeked. I mean, it just smelled to high heaven.
Who was this person? How did you know this person?
It was a referral to me.
Oh.
The outside of the house was beautiful. They had renovated the outside of the house. They had. And so, then I sit down with her and I'm going over price and all this, and she says, well, that's like way too low. And I'm like, no, it's too high. And she says, what do you mean? And I said, well, with the condition that the house is in, we really need to lower it about $20,000 to get this house sold. What do you mean, condition that the house is in? Right? Well, you see all these other houses right here. Now, their kitchens have been updated. They're painted neutral colors. The hardwood floors have been redone. The house looks great on the outside, but it's the inside that, you have to work on now. Not only that, but your basement is going to have to be completely, everything has got to be taken out of there. It's going to have to be deodorized. Probably going to have to get a professional company in here to do all that stuff and everything. So, she didn't want to go with the price. And I'm like, that's fine. Thank you so much for your time. What do you mean? You're not going to list my house? No, ma'am. I'm not going to list your house.
You're about to stress me out.
And she's like, what? I'm like, no, ma'am, I don't take overpriced listings. And I know if I list it at this price, it's not going to sell in the condition that the house is in. And see, you got to understand as a seller, I'm spending money in the beginning to get your house sold. That's my job, to get your house sold. So all my marketing, paying for the photographer, and everything else that I do to get your house sold, I don't get paid back any of that money until it closes. And if it doesn't close because it's overpriced because of the condition, then I just wasted money. All right? And I'm not going to do that, and I'm not going to waste your time telling you that I can do that. And so thank you very much. Are you going to leave your marketing materials with me and what you do? No, ma'am. Never, ever, ever, ever leave your marketing materials behind with anybody. Ever. Okay? So, but that's my choice to do that. in the beginning of your career, it might be a little bit harder for you to walk away from a listing, right? Because you want to get started. But I want to say these things for you to keep in the back of your mind. If your sign is sitting in that yard, is it doing you any good?
Not
Is
if it's
it?
there for a long time, it's not.
If it's there for a long time, it is not doing you any good, is it? Because what do you think the neighbors think?
Yeah. Why can't she
Why
sell
can't she
or he
sell?
sell this house?
Right. Do they have any idea that it's overpriced? Do they have any idea, the majority of your neighbors, they don't?
They don't know the condition of the inside of the
Correct.
house.
Correct.
So you just take it every time you're done? Just pick up your stuff as far as the signs just being on the lawn?
Pardon me?
Well, she hadn't put her sign there.
Oh,
yet.
Yeah, no, I didn't take the listing. No. But what I'm saying, if you choose to take an overpriced listing, I want, just food for thought to keep in the back of your mind. Is the sign in that yard and it's sitting there and the house hasn't sold in 30 days, it hasn't sold in 60 days, it hasn't sold in 90 days, what do the neighbors think? They think that you're a crummy agent, right? That's not going to win other listings in the neighborhood. Right. So what are the other downsides to taking an overpriced listing?
The time frame.
Time frame? Okay.
There was a person I was showing an open house for. They priced the house at, I think he wanted $260 something. The last house that sold there sold for like close to 200, whatever. So I was showing the house every weekend. Finally, I was like, well, I asked my sponsor, I was like, you need to talk to him. Like, he needs to put it down because, the area that it's in, it is a developing area and it's very popular. I was like, but this house is not worth that. It has a lot of land, but it's not worth anything. So he finally dropped it to $258. By the time he dropped it, we ended up finding a buyer for it. When he dropped it, let's say like a week or two after, and now they're going through the process and everything. Because I was just like, no one's like actually coming. I would get like 4 or 5 people every weekend for the open house and stuff, but like they would always walk away, and I'm like,
Price and condition and location. Those are the 3 things that you always have to remember. But the other thing too about price is it going to appraise? You got to keep that in mind too. If you take an overpriced listing, is it going to appraise? If you do choose to take an overpriced listing and you know it's overpriced, what I would suggest you do is you write it in your exclusive listing agreement that you agree to, let's say they want to list it at 300 and the last house that's even bigger than theirs sold at 280, right? And then you can say, in your listing agreement, I'm willing to list it at 300, but we have to drop it to 280 in 2 weeks if we haven't had any showings and we haven't had any offers. And you write it in there, that the seller agrees to drop their price to 280, and there's a form, it's F728 in FMLS, that form, and it's in your .loop too, that the seller signs that amends the listing agreement. And the reason you have to amend the listing agreement, because your listing agreement is what has the price on it, right? So if you're changing the price, then you have to amend that. Make sense? So take that with you, have everybody sign off on it, and then in 2 weeks' time, you already have the paperwork, there's no argument, there's no question, and now you can go into FMLS and change that price. Okay?
So could you suggest that they should get an appraisal if they're just really stubborn about the price?
If it is a cookie cutter subdivision, so to speak, right, then they're wasting their money getting an appraisal, okay? Because an appraisal costs about $425 typically. And so if it's a cookie cutter subdivision and you see that, all of these houses and there's nothing really special in their house compared to the other houses, they're really wasting their money, right? And not only that, a lot of times a private appraisal will be more than an appraisal from the bank. Right, exactly. The only time that I would suggest to anybody to get a private appraisal before putting it on the market is if it's a specialty property. For instance, if you have, one time we've listed an 8-acre farm with a whole bunch of outbuildings and equipment and all that, So there were absolutely no comps around it to support it, and, so that, yes. Or if you've got some of the neighborhoods to where, like downtown, for instance, Virginia Highlands, Midtown kind of area, you've got $1 million house here and maybe a $200,000 house here, or, a tear down, things like that, then it's worth it. Make sense? Okay. Okay. Here's the letter that talks about on page 16 of Win the Seller. Here's the letter that talks about it's all about you and your real estate business, taking time, to understand your needs and your expectations, answering your questions.
It jumps from 15 to 22.
Yeah.
What?
I was making sure it wasn't just me.
Yeah, we've been missing pages every once in a while.
Okay.
But,
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And then getting ready to list, this is also in your pre-listing packet. The market tells us how much your house is worth. One other thing too, and this is just a little bit of a psychological thing. When someone is selling a house, it's house. All of your marketing materials should say house, not home on there. When someone's buying a home, it's always a home. Why do you think that's important?
Get the emotion out.
Exactly. It's a feeling to their emotional state. Okay. A lot of people, especially if they've lived in the house for a really long time, they're very emotionally attached to that house. So if you use the word house when you're selling, then it helps them to start detaching, right?
Okay.
Home is where the castle is, right? Nobody wants to leave their home, right? So, make sense? All right. So you'll see in all it drives me crazy, but you'll see in most of all the marketing materials and everything that are available for you, it'll say home. So you're going to have to be really careful and go back in there and change it. The house.
So seller, house, buyer, home.
Correct. Yep. Condition of property. So let's say the avocado greenhouse, she would have agreed to list it for $20,000, and we would have put it on the market. How would we have put that on the market? Anybody know?
Extra special.
I would assume you still weren't going to get that price.
Possible upgrade. I don't know.
Yeah, you put it on the market as
Yeah.
is, right? As is, and so then you're marketing it, has a fixer up or that kind of thing, right? Okay.
Did you? I take it you didn't take that listing.
No, I didn't take it.
Did you ever see what it sold for? Just
$30,000.
curiosity, you didn't care.
I didn't care.
Just curious.
Nope, didn't care. Didn't keep with it. Next.
Animals in the basement would have done it for me.
Spiders.
That's a whole zoo.
I think I hear a lot of stories. I've heard other people have stories about Mr. I can't even talk. The other woman having sex with the guy because they thought the property was clear. Was that you that had this story?
Oh, like the realtors that were having sex in houses and
No,
stuff?
not the realtors, but the husband thought that the property was clear and he had the other woman over there.
Oh,
It wasn't
And
another woman he had over
Oh, it
there.
was you that told
what
that
was
story?
it? What was
Oh
it?
yeah, I think you told that story.
Let's
She
tell it
walked in
again,
on something.
guys.
Okay. So I'll show it. This is like years and years and years and years ago.
Yes, I've heard.
And so before, back in the old days, which I kind of wish it was like this again, but back in the old days, we as realtors, Zillow didn't exist, no portals on FMLS. What we did is we sat down with our buyers and we did a whole buyer presentation, consultation, and found out exactly what they wanted. It was up to us to find, and research the properties and all that. So sit down and do that. Then you'd have to call every seller and say, I'm planning on showing your house tomorrow between 1 and 2. You know, if that doesn't work for you, please call me back. If I don't hear back from you, then I'm going to go ahead and show. Right. So, went. Always ring the doorbell. Always, always. Even if you don't think anybody's home, always, always ring that doorbell. Rang the doorbell, and there was also an alarm on this house. So a lot of times the alarm code will be in the FMLS key box, you know, or super key box, I should say. So undid the alarm, and Helena and I are in there, and you know, we're down. It's a big house in Vinings, and so we're down there, you know, and we're loving the house. She's loving it and everything. We go upstairs, and when you got upstairs, it was a big double door to the master bedroom that you open it up, and Helena and I are like, you know, we shut the door.
It was a married man with another man.
It was a married man with another man.
Another guy.
Okay.
Another guy.
That's what I would like to
Jesus
know.
Christ.
If you ended up ever having to be in front of them
I
when you're
would've
trying to buy that house, just sitting at that closing.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know that would have. We probably would have had to.
No one
close
said
in separate
anything to
rooms
the
or
wife,
something. No, she called.
Ooh.
Did you show my house today?
What'd you say?
Yes, I did.
And
Did
I
you
was
like
like,
it? Yes, we did. Are you gonna make an offer? No, we're not. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. I would never ever.
No,
Yeah,
you wouldn't
never
do that.
ever do that. Okay.
Can't touch that.
There's a lot of I can tell y'all stories for days.
Yeah, they.
Yeah, for days and days and days of things I've seen.
And you know, these houses might have cameras. You don't want to dig a wedgie out, anything.
Oh yeah.
Get
You do
alone.
have to be aware of that. A lot of times there's going to be cameras or recorders and stuff in there. So you also want to make sure that you tell your buyer, do not talk about how much you like the house inside the house or the price that you're willing to pay or anything like that. Let's talk about it when we get outside. Okay. All right. Getting ready to sell. This is one of the things that's in the pre-listing packet. It talks about price, how important price is. So there's this graph that's also in there that you can use. Just talks about overpriced houses and how they don't sell, right? Condition, we know how important condition is, right? A lot of times, if a house needs too much work done to it, you really want to try to get the seller to see that they'd be better off putting the house on the market as is, right? Because you'll have to get really good at this, but you can get really good at this, being able to determine what renovations would cost. Okay, so for instance, several houses that I've listed. I had the saddest story, but she has passed since this happened. But little lady, she had several acres up in Canton, and her son had built a beautiful house on that, and he passed away. He passed away 2 years after her daughter passed away.
Oh, Lord.
So this house had been sitting empty. Beautiful, big, gorgeous house too. It was just unbelievably gorgeous. And but it had been sitting there empty for 2 years. I mean, and the furniture in there was absolutely drop dead gorgeous furniture, but because it had been sitting there for so long, there was actually mold growing on the furniture. Yeah. And the house was left in really bad condition. Come to find out, he was a meth addict. We found all kinds of meth stuff in the house.
wow.
And so went up there,
Man, you've had some interesting moments.
I do.
I can't
had
wait
some
until
very
I start
interesting
having
moments.
crazy stuff happen.
Lots of crazy stuff. I showed a house one time to my buyers out in the middle of nowhere. Walked in, parrots and chickens and pigs running in and out of the house.
Like how?
And I am so serious. I am not exaggerating whatsoever.
There's just some crazy people.
There's some crazy people out there.
People live in filth all the time.
Mhm, crazy people.
A friend of mine's
Why do you
husband.
think that hoarder shows up?
He has
Yeah, I was about to
snakes
say, there's
in
levels
his
to it.
house.
Yeah.
Apparently
That
he
is
works
too
with
much.
snakes, and he has
No.
snakes
No.
like in his garage. And I'm like, do the kids go in there?
No.
I'm like, that's crazy. How could you sleep at night
Yeah.
knowing
Yeah.
Yeah,
they're in there?
Yeah, I was showing a house one time to the first time home buyer, and we, go in, and she likes the upstairs, and then we go downstairs, and she's in front of me, and I turn on the light, and she just screams bloody murder and turns out and runs out of the house, and I'm like, what the heck? And I look down there, and it was wall-to-wall snake tanks with snakes on them. And here's the ironic thing about that. The house that she ended up buying, about a month later, they were in the crawl space. Somebody was in the crawl space, and there was a snake up under there.
The snake can have the house at that point.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Burn that down.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, there's some funny things, and so it's amazing what people do. Anyways, condition is everything. But so what happened with her was went up there, took a look at the house and everything that needed to be done, and all the furniture and all that, and just explained to her, you can put it's going to take you about $60,000 to get the house up to being able to sell it at like I think it was about 425 mark at that time. But, to me, in my opinion, you're not going to get any more than that. And if we list it at at 365, and you not put that in there, we just do it as is, I think you'll be in better condition. And she was, and we put it on the market for that, and we got multiple offers within a couple of days. So, so you just have to, be able to judge. And right now, in the beginning of your career, you're probably not going to be able to do that. But there's plenty of people and plenty of support that you have around you that can help you determine those kinds of
When you
things.
list a house like that, crystal meth, the whole thing, mold on the furniture, how far do you go as the agent to help them to get that house in order?
Well,
I could see them expecting a lot.
Well, what we did, this lady was on an oxygen tank and a wheelchair. She was also the aunt of another client of mine, so she was a referral. And so my son and myself and buyer's agent, we went up there and we cleaned that house out. And then I brought in an estate auctioneer, and then they were able to auction off all the furniture and hold estate. They held 2 weekends in a row an estate sale and got most everything out of there.
So you were very hands-on.
Yeah, we were very hands-on with her. I don't know that it really just depends on the person.
But she needed help.
She needed help. There was no way that she was going to be able to do that, and just so
Yeah.
we did what we could do,
Thank
right?
God.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
Who do you bring in to remove crystal meth? So.
Well, there was, yeah.
Is that on our vendor list?
Well, I've actually shown houses walking up, especially when everything was going into foreclosure and stuff. You would see, like, one house we walked up, there were cameras around the entire perimeter, and it's just like, kind of strange. You walk in, and all the copper plumbing's been taken out, the bathrooms have been taken out, the cabins have been taken out, and so that's what it was. That was a drug house.
Or squatters.
Yeah.
Squatters out there.
So you just have to, Also, that's another lesson. Be careful. Be careful and always watch your surroundings when you're showing too.
You don't have to tell unless your client asks. You don't have to tell them that, right? That it was that it was a crack house.
Well, it was pretty obvious.
Oh, okay.
I mean, pretty obvious.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so asking questions for your sellers is so important. The more questions you ask, the better off you're going to be. The better prepared you're going to be, the better you're going to understand their personality and what they're expecting and what they want. Okay? So just be sure and ask lots of questions. Here is a page that's about you, like a little biography about you. And keep in mind that because you're new, you may feel like there's not a lot that you can say about yourself. Well, that's not true. There's a lot that you can say about yourself, and then all of the other things that you can pull in with the stats and things like that, and what Keller Williams has done, and what our office does, and the Rawls Group and everything can be part of that bio, okay? Because you're on a team. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Listing appointment. All right. So when I say listing appointment, what do you think of?
Going to meet with the
Meeting
seller.
with the client.
Okay. All right. How prepared are you?
Very.
Very. Okay. Do you have a listing presentation?
Yes.
Okay. Is your listing presentation going to be on your laptop, or is it going to be on paper, or both?
Both and both.
Both. Okay. All right. Good. All right. So you walk in, you get to the appointment, what, 5 minutes prior to the time, right? Okay. Gonna greet everybody. You're gonna walk into the house, and you're going to ask them to go ahead and sit at the kitchen table or whatever that you would like to do. You would like to walk through the house, and they're gonna say, oh, let me show you the house. And you're gonna say, oh, thank you so much, but I would just prefer if you go ahead and, have a seat wherever you like, and then let me look through the house by myself, because I want to look at it through a buyer's eyes. Okay? A couple of reasons you do that. It's because I think y'all all know I like to talk a lot, right? All right. So, and you don't ever really want to insult anybody. So, when you're walking through the house by yourself, you can really, and I don't hide my facial expressions very well either. So if it's something I don't like, you're going to see it on my face and stuff. So, but, when somebody is showing you the house and they say, oh, we just redid the bathroom and the tile is, like you already know the buyers are not going to go for this tile. You don't want to sit there and say that to them, right? And because they'll probably ask you, how do you like it? And then if you say, oh, I really like it, because you don't want to insult anybody, when you're getting feedback from all the other agents, buyers hate the tile, and then you come back and you tell your seller, well, it's because of this, and they'll look at you and go, but you said you liked it, right? Okay. So if you're looking at it through a buyer's eyes, then you put some distance between you and the seller of what's realistic and what's not. And then you can take notes and everything of what needs to be changed and all that stuff too. And then there's a couple of sheets. I guess y'all are going to use Bridge. Do you know what I mean? Bridge is, okay, so when you get a listing, you have to input it into the system. So Bridge is the way that you put it into FMLS and Georgia MLS just one time. So you don't have to do them separately. But there's some sheets that you can pull off of the FMLS, that's your data sheets. And what that data sheet has on there is all the things like, gas appliances, electric, cooktop, microwave, all that stuff, right? So as you're walking through the house, like I always had a manila folder with me, and I'd have that sheet and I'd be able to check things off, because I promise you that by the time you get through with your listing presentation and getting the listing paperwork signed and you get back home to put the listing into the system, you're not going to remember whether it was gas, whether there was a built-in microwave, whether the appliances were black or stainless steel or white. I mean, it just, especially the more and more listings you take. So to have that data sheet, and also there's something on there. There's two things that the seller has to sign. If the house is on septic, then they have to check septic, and they have to sign that. If it's public sewer, then they also have to sign that and everything too. So that data sheet is very important. All right, so the listing presentation. All right, so now you're going to sit down at the kitchen table with them. How do you think that's going to go?
Great.
Great.
Because you'll be prepared.
There you
Be
go.
prepared.
And you're
Okay.
gonna feel comfortable if you're prepared.
Okay, that's correct. Yeah, well. All right, so do you know what I mean by mirror imaging?
Yes.
Okay,
No.
What?
what?
I'm doing what you're doing.
Yep, totally.
Adapting to
Doing
your
And
it
I'm
right.
saying what you last
So,
said, like,
Mhm.
oh, 150,000.
Yeah, mirror imaging. So watching somebody and knowing their triggers, right? All right. So, and if somebody that if they ask you, would you like a glass of water? If you're having some water, I'll take some water too, right?
Oh.
Okay. If you're having coffee, I'll take coffee as well, right? Okay. Every time they take a sip, you're gonna take a sip, right? So you're mirror imaging. Why do you feel like that might be important?
So they
Build a
think you're
connection.
like them.
To show them that you're paying attention somewhat.
They
Maybe.
make that connection.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're paying attention, making that connection. You know, you're bonding with them, right?
Yeah.
So that's the other thing. You got to learn what hat to put on by the different personality styles people have. Okay? So, you know, because let me tell you, if it is a good old country boy, then my country accent's going to come out really big time. And I'm going to be in jeans over there at the listing presentation, right? I mean, I'm so serious. I'm not kidding. One time I listed Sanford and Sons house. And I'm not joking. I'm not joking. Pulled up to the listing, right? Because they came to me. It was a listing that I had with some acreage, and they came and they said, "Well, we need to sell our house before we can buy." I said, "I'll be happy to help you out on that." Go to their house, and I pull up. There's a broken down truck on the left side of the yard, a broken down camper with like the ivy all over it, dishwasher on the front porch. No, washing machine on the front porch. And also a fish tank in the middle of the
At
yard.
that point,
It's about those
that's
fish
land
tanks
sale.
now.
That's
Yeah.
just a land sale at that point.
So walk in, they didn't even have HVAC. In Georgia, they did not have central air. Can you imagine?
Where they had the ACs in
Not
the window.
central air.
Grandma.
So the good thing was they were the sweetest people. They did everything I told them to do. They got everything cleaned up. They even got HVAC put into the house and everything. Yeah, they were the sweetest people. Rare. They just like.
I was gonna say, if not, that's just a land sale.
Yeah. So we actually, sold their house and then they bought the acreage from us. So, yeah. But I called my partner and I said, "We just listed Sanford and Sons house." Like, what? But they were. We got it done. So, great impression. That's the other thing. You're impressing upon that person when you're mirroring what they're doing. Setting expectations. What do you think that means? Setting expectations.
Expressing to the buyer, the seller, what you will be expecting from them as well.
Yes, yeah, you do need to set that, and you need to also help them understand what you're going to do for them.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, getting into the habit of saying no is a good thing.
Okay.
Okay? Because you need to establish hours for yourself, right? Because if you don't, then you will get burned out real fast. And it's not easy to do, especially when you're commission only, and so it might be some time before you can actually establish those hours, after you're established some.
You don't want them to feel like they own you.
Right, exactly. They will too. I mean, you'll get a text at 10 o'clock at night. Any feedback from today?
Mm-mm. From
do
9 to
not
5.
do not answer that, and stuff like that. So establishing that and letting them know, what your hours are. There's nothing wrong with that. When people would say to me, we want to go and see houses out on Sunday, I'd say, I'm so sorry, I have another appointment that day. And I did. My appointment was with my family.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't need to know that, but did, So, because you've got to recharge, you've got to settle down and recharge. And the last thing in the world you want is your family or anyone else resenting your job, because that makes this a whole lot harder when you don't have that. behind you. And if you're working all the time and you're on your phone at night and you're on your laptop at night, and that will happen, I promise.
So you have to make time.
Yeah, you have to
off
make
work,
time.
not just work.
Right. You have to make time. So setting the expectations and letting them know, and then that way everything is up front, right? Okay, but do not promise them something and not deliver on it. Right? So if you promise them something and you don't deliver on it, what do you think that's going to do?
Kill your credibility.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So how do you create a raving fan?
Under promise, over deliver.
Under promise, over deliver. Absolutely. It works every single time. Okay? All right. So here is a listing presentation. Does anybody need to use the restroom first? Oh, good. Okay.
Mini break.
Say you're not alone.
Excuse my legs.
We gotta get some more guys in this classroom. I said we gotta get some more guys in this classroom.
Questions for captured
Ladies the battle.
Okay, great.
It's like 3 pages. And it's similar to what's in here, but not quite. And we recognize that we are missing.
Which one are we on? Are we on Win the Seller or?
Yeah, it's Win the Seller. And we are right around 28. But we recognize that we were missing 16 through 21 in the book. So
yeah, right here.
I guess we'll get with Stacy. Get that. So that's what she just finished covering, that area 16 through.
This is what makes me anxious, is the listing presentation.
Yes.
I have nothing.
Well, she just finished telling us she's going to give us hers, and she said we could find the one that KW does on KW Connect. And of course, the missing pages have some stuff on it too. But one of the keys that she said was when we go, having that listing presentation or sending it in advance.
That's great. Yeah, sending it in back.
Yeah, she said having a pre-listing packet that we send in advance, and she gave us one of her tricks, which was to go to FedEx and get some of those free FedEx envelopes. And she said because it was so large and because she didn't want it to go into spam, she wouldn't email over the pre-listing. She would tell them, "Oh, I'll fax it to you. You should have it no later than tomorrow." And then she'd just have a runner to run it over and put it on the step that evening, and they'd be like, "Oh, she's supposed to have it tomorrow. It's here today." So they're already,
they're already
impressed.
I don't even know what's supposed to be in the packet. That's the problem.
And that's what she was going over, and that's what she's going to give us a copy of. But she was like, one of the things that I had in it was like these 47 things to do for showing. Little things like opening the blinds and making sure that the grass is cut so that they would have that, but also the seller disclosure and the HOA agreement. And she said when you walk in and they've already got that filled out, that was a...
Do they have a list of things that we need?
Well, she's going to give us a copy of the pre-listing package.
What'd you think then?
I know, I just snuck in.
Oh, there's a lot of things. Is there like a place to go for all this stuff?
That's what I'm saying.
KW Connect.
Yeah, I was about to say a lot of the forms on KW. If you go and look at the
Just going. I clearly have not spent enough time on.
No, I've done nothing. I mean, like I went on with Stacy, like she showed us how to use it.
Just your password.
Yeah. So the Connect, is that the new one? No, Command is new.
Command is new. Connect is just intranet. I think in that what it's called, the intranet here for Keller Williams.
Yeah. What about it?
I was just asking.
We were like saying there's as new people, we like don't know where to begin to find things. Like, is there a place to go for tracking sheets, or are we creating our own Excel spreadsheets? Are we? Do I have to learn Excel?
Well,
I went around when I was in business.
I have tracking sheets and stuff like that I'm happy to share with you.
I think we would take anything you want to share with us.
But you can also find all of that stuff on MyKW.
Okay, that's what you just said.
But you can also find some things on the intranet. So you've got two systems. You've got KW Internet, right? The mykw.com Internet, and then you've got our Market Center intranet.
What's that? Where do we find that?
Agent.kw.com.
When you go to kw.com,
I'm right here.
okay, if you scroll down, it says MyKW MC247 intranet. See,
Here.
see, Deborah? Whoops. How'd you get there?
Stand by. Okay.
Where'd you find this?
I'll show
You logged on to MyKW.com.
Yeah.
And it's right there. That takes you to
Okay.
our Market Center intranet.
you.
Yeah, intranet.
Terry,
Yes.
I forgot to sign in when I first came in. Is that gonna mess me up?
Well, you're out. You don't get your hours for today.
Nah, they were strict about that.
I
when we
know.
were going to school.
Yeah, because,
Oh,
yeah, totally.
I was like,
I did mine online,
well,
which took me
I did too.
3 times longer.
where are you working at? Do your glasses.
Oh, it's at a fitness center.
Because I work at a lot of gyms. So
No. It's, yeah, no, it's not like Gold's Gym or anything. It's a dance studio.
Off of MyKW.com.
Okay, so this is a listing presentation. You can actually find this listing presentation template on mykw.com. Okay.
Under
Right.
education?
Yes, I believe so. I'd have to go back. I will tell you about our internet system. There is so much on there that you really could stay on it 24/7, 365 days and never be through with it. There's just so much on there. So it can be very daunting and like, where's this at and everything. So just kind of have to play around with things and keep looking. But one thing I want to say about your listing presentation is it's really cool if you can get a picture of the house that you're going to go list before, so you can insert it there. However, some of the listing presentations you're going to see have like mid-century modern homes on the front. There's also Michael Lewis Marketing Suite that has a listing presentation in it and things like that you can download and do. If you're going to a traditional style home, don't have a picture of the mid-century modern on there. If you're going to a mid-century modern on there, don't have a picture of the beach house with the ocean in the back. No, just think about those things, because it does make a difference. People will get the idea that those are the only kind of houses that you sell, right? Okay. Why isn't this working?
Batteries.
Is it stuck?
There you go.
Okay. Go back on there. All right. So this is a bio page right here. That talks about you, your value proposition, and all of those type of things. Your needs come first. Clear communication. This is so important to be able to talk to people and find out the way that they want to be communicated with. Now, I would also suggest this. whenever you have a listing, you want to always let them know, at least on a weekly basis, the marketing that you're doing for the week and updates on the showings and feedback that you've received and all that. So, most of the time people will say once a week is fine, but when somebody has a showing and they know they've got showings, then they're going to like, any feedback, right? They're going to want that feedback right away. So that's another expectation you might want to set up with sellers during the listing presentation, that you're not always going to receive feedback from agents. So don't be one of those agents. Always give feedback. When you're working with a buyer on another agent's listing, always give them feedback. It's so important. Because I will tell you, 90% of agents do not give feedback.
Oh.
All right? Drives me insane. You're going to find there's a lot of lazy agents out there. And you're going to have to be the better agent.
Do you call
Always.
the agent after a showing, the buyer's agent, and say, do you remember this? Can you give me some feedback?
You can. So there is when you list a property.
On the showing time visit conference.
And you can actually edit that and put additional questions in there and things like that too. And it's also on your Supra lockbox website too as well.
Okay, I've never seen a super, but I know
Okay,
I've seen
yeah.
showing time.
Yeah. So once they show that listing, it'll actually send a push for feedback. It's very rare to get them. So then you pick up the phone and call, and it's very rare that you get an agent on the phone, and then it's very rare that they'll bother to call you back and give you feedback. So don't be one of those. It's really important.
I did a couple of open houses, and I found that a lot of them came without agents, and they didn't want to talk to me. They didn't want to give me feedback. They just wanted me out of their way.
That's when they're not serious.
Is that normal? No, I think they're serious. They just don't want
They don't
to.
want to fuss with you.
They want to be left alone.
When they're looking at the house?
Yeah. I was an open house agent, and I would try to get conversation going.
They felt like you were selling them a car.
I don't know.
There's different ways that you can hold an open house. There's a thing that I talk about in coaching in holding the 7th level open house, and a lot of times that will help you to get people to engage with you. So we'll go over that. Okay, so at least once a week, and no matter how they say they like to be communicated with, I would recommend that you put in it in an email, right? If they say that they want to be text, that's fine. Text them and email them. And if it's really important, you need to call them, right? Because you can't always express, or the other person doesn't always hear the tone in an email or in a text, right?
Yes.
Okay, so going over and beyond will create a raving fan. Okay, business by the numbers. This page right here is for you to put your stats of like what your average sales price is, what the market is doing, your average days on market, your list to sales price ratio. You don't have that right now. Hi!
Everybody's really looking forward to getting here.
This one's the one that's on KW. Okay. I also have this in my listing presentation too, but you're not going to have these numbers right now, so you can pull the numbers off of the intranet from our team and what we've done in the chart masters and things like that too, to put there. Okay?
Where do we get these numbers as we start to list houses? Is it
You're going to
something
have to keep up with your ratios and average things out.
Gotcha.
Yep. Okay.
And would you be willing to send? I'm sorry. Would you be willing to send us your listing presentation as well as this one?
Yeah, absolutely. Credentials and awards. Again, this right here, you're not going to have a lot of those things right now, but you can pull a lot of the things that the Rawls Group has done and put in there. Okay.
you know, here's the proof of your number, the 85% of the number of contracts I've written out, pace the market by 85%, blah, blah, blah. The industry leader, this talks about Keller Williams, why we're a win-win, why I use Keller Williams, all that. Here's a great thing to do, okay? So whenever you take a listing and you take a buyer and you close on something, you want to have this sheet in your listing presentation and your buyer consultation. It's better if you have like just a one sheet of the person that you closed, maybe standing in front of the house with a sold sign. Yeah, taking pictures of them and all that, and and a testimony from them. If you have that in your listing presentation, it should also be on the about pages in your website, you know, so people are seeing testimonies. But the reason for the picture of the people is because it makes it real. You know, it's just, you know, it's a real thing. But then when you have the listing presentation, you also want to have the prices of the houses that you have on there, and you want a good mix, right? Like I said, people will get the impression if all you have in your listing presentation are houses that are 500 to 600,000, they're going to think that that's all you do, right? And if that's the only niche that you want to be in, that's totally fine, okay? But if you want to be able to grow a team member isn't necessarily going to automatically be able to get that type of listing or work with those type of buyers. So having a wide range, you know, makes you credible. Does that make sense? Okay.
Terry, when do you traditionally take that picture?
I usually take it at closing, or like for normally for buyers, we would go there like a couple days after they moved in with the sold sign, you know, and give them their gift. It was another excuse for us to see them instead of giving them their gift at the closing table. That's what we did.
What kind of gifts do you give them? Like
It depended on our clients. Like we had a client that when they sold they didn't know any money on their house whatsoever. When they sold it, it was completely cash. They bought a great big huge RV and they took off to travel the country. So we got them some camping cookware and stuff. You know, so it depends on the client. We really got to know, you know, our clients and their likes and dislikes. So it was never, for us, it was never just, oh, we're giving everybody this.
Yeah.
You know. Oops. The process, this just helps them to understand the different things that are going to take place. All right. And then your marketing plan goes behind there. And before you put anything in print and before you give it to anybody, you want to make sure you go through here and you are going to do all the things that you got in print. Okay? So if you're not going to hold an open house on it, let's say you list a house that is, I mean, like 160, right? Are you going to be able to hold an open house this weekend on a house that's listed at 160? Probably not. Honestly, probably not, because you're probably going to have multiple offers before it ever hits, right? So you would want to explain that to your seller, right? You know.
And why is that? Because there's just not many houses under that where we live.
Yeah, where, you know, it depends on your area, right? So, I mean, some areas that, you know, having a house that's 160, that's going to be the norm. So you probably would want to do an open house. But like for anything that's around here, I mean, you can't even get anything that's under 400 basically, right?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Quick question. How do you, that brought me to something that happened. How do you handle blind offers?
I don't.
What is
Yeah.
a blind offer?
A blind offer is where, and actually I just got one. I got one on Thursday, I think it was. I got a blind offer. What a blind offer is you've got a listing and somebody has never even stepped foot into the house. And a lot of investors there's companies out there that have agents that are just sitting on the laptop, internet, trolling for listings, right? Trolling for listings that have maybe been on the market more than 30 days and all that. So they'll shoot you out a cash offer, okay? But
what I started doing is I put in the private remarks of my listing, no blind offers accepted. Okay.
Meaning they're just verbally telling you that on the phone?
Not verbally. They'll send it over in the paperwork, but you know they've never showed the house because they never opened the lockbox, right? Okay, or you can also see on the purchase and sale agreement that it's a corporation, that's an LLC, right? Or they may
Why
even
would you
be-
not want if it's an offer? Why do you care if they see it or not, what they're gonna do with the house?
Because for every offer that you have, there's always that due diligence period. So usually with an investor, they will take a property,
Lock it up.
and then, so they'll even do this. They'll even come in $10,000 over a price of their property, lock it up, and then they'll find all this stuff wrong with it during the inspection period, and then they'll try to get your seller to lower the price, by $10,000, $20,000, $30,000. So that's why we started putting into effect no blind offers. But that's totally up to you, whether you want to do that or not. I mean, it's acceptable. It's just you want
Be
to.
prepared, you're going down on price.
Correct, yeah.
I'm sorry, we're running a little bit behind. We're almost through.
Oh, you're fine.
Yes, ma'am? You had a question?
No, go ahead.
Okay. So all this stuff too, like this talks about going door knocking, and so like I said, read all of this to make sure you're going to do all this. Whatever you're not going to do not promise that. Price is Right talks about that, talks about the open house and the things you're gonna do. A win-win example, the bargaining chip, this is about Keller Mortgage. These are all the different things that you could do as far as coming soon campaign, walkthrough needs analysis, just listed campaign, just sold campaign. Those are typically like a coming soon, just listed campaign, or just sold campaign. A lot of those can be postcards. So if you're not going to do that because they can be expensive, do not put it in print. Doesn't mean that you can't do it like through social media and all that, but you just don't want to promise postcards. Okay? Trusted partner, the promise, bottom line is real estate is complicated. That's where you come in. Right? So, and then of course you can, like I said, tailor that the way that you would like to tailor it. Any questions? If not, we can have lunch.
You do.
Is it hard?
I do.
Are you?
You want this, don't you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, guys. Does everybody have a business card yet?
Yes.
Okay. If you don't have a business card, write your name on a piece of paper, and I do a drawing for a free photo shoot with Virtuance. So I'm borrowing this bowl because I forgot one.
Can you start over?
Yeah.
On my case?
So I am Jennifer. I'm with Virtuance. I'm one of y'all's preferred vendors. We do real estate photography. So one of the first things we'll do is if you guys will get out a business card or write your name on a piece of paper, put it in this bowl, and we'll do a drawing when I'm done talking. But you guys get lunch and all set up. And then I don't look. I promise. You can write on some paper too. Or if you need one of my business cards, I have plenty. I can give you a business card.
Yours.
Well, I'm passing out. You're all going to get information from me. But get lunch, because I brought Panera. There's salad, there's sandwiches.
Fancy. We appreciate you.
That's where it costs them. But not this time. Are you gonna draw it here?
Yes.
Okay. I just crossed out and put my name.
Yeah, so I just read your actual name, right? You'll put your real information on here.
Okay, I'll show you. Okay.
Okay, yeah, no, I already got my time.
And the texture, that is with Prima White.
Pretty much, like,
Yeah, Prima White.
Thank you.
What do you need on this?
Just your name, because
Do you also do drones?
We do.
Okay.
Here you go.
So for those. This is great.
Is there somebody else? No.
No, there's
So I'm missing somebody. Is there somebody sitting up here?
Prima Flyers. You say
I
that.
just
No,
know
no, I
that.
did. Very interesting.
But I'm sure it's
And
all.
I mean, it comes back.
And you say you did the rest with the business card? I mean, what?
This is a great lunch.
Sure.
Sure.
But they did
Yeah, no, I
and
have.
that's where I thought they have like.
Let's check them out. This is overall.
Thank you.
By Atlantic Station.
Yeah.
I like those cards. Maybe
Thank you so
can
much.
give me an example, or do they have an example card?
Yeah, they have sample cards, but you can pick.
Where'd you order yours from?
Prima Pliner.
Prima?
Yeah, this is what will happen when you have a listing, and somebody wants to show it, you'll get a text that says showing requested,
Okay.
you know, and the time and everything, and then you can either say yes to confirm or into
Okay.
or no.
I know.
Okay.
That makes it easy.
Yeah, no, all that.
Thank you.
Try to get in contact with them. Say, hey,
Definitely feel share your marketing plan. I'm overwhelmed with
Okay.
I need to see that
these generics.
The
presentation to do for class the Wednesday, and I haven't started.
I mean, unless you like, I love showing properties.
property, but all the way to the east side. So it's not brand new.
Oh, no, I don't have to, but so.
I'm going all the way.
I think. I just got my license.
Thank you.
Don't you sweat, I think I'm right
For lunch.
Thank you, this is so
Yeah.
nice.
Definitely nice.
Of course.
You guys almost got a taco bar, but I scared some real Disney Beach. It was very close. I was in the car riding back from Charleston, and my friend was like, "Get a taco bar." I was like, "You can do a taco bar."
That's pretty amazing.
But I didn't know, like, there's a lot of vegetarians, so I always go back and forth.
You have some options over here? Okay.
There's Mediterranean sandwich, which is a vegetarian. There's also tuna. The salad wasn't perception.
Yeah, well, yeah, say that one for me.
Well, there too, so you're good to go.
What do you want, John?
And then people don't eat
No, I said, what kind do you want?
bread, so that's why there's just there's a lot of food restrictions now. Gluten.
What's the process now?
I need to turn the lights down. Can you guys eat with the lights down a little bit?
I think it's more psychological.
It's bright outside. We
The
can
sausage and all that, that's all.
Oh, I love sausage. I just love it.
That's what you have to
Do any of y'all have kids?
Yes.
Yeah. Your kids go to school today?
Yes.
Yeah. It's like a brain thing.
Yeah, I have a little one that
Passing out
doesn't start till
mimosas
after
to
Labor
people
Day.
at bus stops or things.
I know. I was like, and my 3-year-old's like, "Where's Connor?" It's like, "He's at school." Be excited. Yeah, he was pretty excited. So this is mom. Okay, did everybody get one of these? I feel like I have one left over. No, I didn't give you one. Did I give you one? No. Okay. So I always like to come in towards the end when you guys are learning about your listing presentation. So I think it's kind of important because when you go on your listing presentations and you're presenting to your sellers, one of the things you really want to talk about is photography. And the great thing about Virtuous is we truly want to be a partner for you guys in every aspect of it, and we want to be there to help you. And one of the things we can help you with is your listing presentations. So I have been with Keller Williams Perimeter for a little over a year. So, and I'm right down the road, so when you guys have questions, stuff like that, you can reach out and call me. But I'm gonna just walk through the presentation. Feel free to ask me questions, and then I'll show you what the importance of the feedback form afterwards is, and then we'll do the drawing for the free photo shoot, which will be helpful for one of you guys when you get your first listing. Has anybody had a listing yet? Oh, great. Okay, good. All right, so I'll wait a few more seconds and then we'll start. And it's pretty simple, the presentation, so take about 10 minutes and I'll be out of y'all's hair and you can get back to learning.
Well, are you the one that actually takes the pictures, or you have like a team of people that?
So we have about 20 photographers here in Atlanta. I am horrible at taking pictures, so no, I don't do it.
Okay.
We have 20 photographers, and then we have an aerial guy that does the drone. And the great thing about Virtuance is we are vertically integrated, which means I go out and I do all the sales presentations. And then my team of photographers, all they do is they go out and take the pictures. And then everything is sent to Denver where our headquarters are. So all the processing and everything is done there. So you get pictures within 1 to 3 days. And then you get photos by 5 p.m. the next business day. So our photographers are really in charge of just going out and taking the photos. They label everything and then they send them to Virtuance, which everything is processed there. Everything is looked at before it's sent to you guys. And then you get it back to the next business day. Yeah, so we have to have a massive team here because Atlanta's really spread out. Yeah, and when I first started, one of the things that I really had to overcome was just learning the market and understanding the traffic patterns and where we really needed demand. So our service area has really expanded because you may be in perimeter, but you may have clients that are all the way in Cumming and Ball Ground, and just seeing where our demand fits, and then also having photographers, because a photographer that drives an hour to do a shoot then can't drive all the way to Marietta. So just figuring out where everybody needs to be placed and stuff like that. But all right, let's start. So as I said, we're vertically integrated, and I'm the salesperson here in Atlanta. So how important is using professional photography?
Very. Very?
But can you put it in terms of money? Do you think it'll help you increase your?
Oh, absolutely.
So we know that it'll actually double your income if you use professional photography every time.
Oh, yeah.
It won't just help you, it'll actually double it. So keep that in mind, which I think is a game changer a lot of times when people get stressed out because their sellers are like, this has got to go on the market right now. Like, this has to happen. Or you think you get a listing and you're like, I know it's going to sell no matter what. Remember, photos are going to make a big difference. They'll help you sell it faster and for more money. Every time. Take a minute, get your breath, and take that extra second to take professional photography. Because here's some stats that I like to show every time. Home buyers are looking online. They're not calling you anymore. The first thing they're doing 6 months before they ever decide to pick up the phone is they're looking online. And it takes 6 seconds to capture their attention, and it takes 20 seconds before they pick up the phone. So they're looking at hundreds of pictures before they land on one. And there's so many bad pictures that are still out there. There's still photos of the master suite without the bed made. There are still master bathrooms that have shampoo bottles everywhere. There are still pictures with dogs in the photos where people think family pets should be a part of it. So, you know, and the carpets are dirty. So remember that. There's one little thing that can change a buyer's mind, and then you've lost them. That 6 seconds is really important. So I just want you guys to remember that. Quality versus consistency. I know you guys were talking a few minutes ago about a $150,000 listing. And this is something we run into a lot when I talk to agents. They're like, well, it's only a $150,000 listing. I only do photos for $300,000 or more. And I say, okay, but what if your next seller looks at you online and searches all your listings and realizes you don't use professional photography for a $150,000 listing, and that's their listing? They're going to immediately not use you because they're going to be like, well, why didn't they do marketing? They're not going to do it for me. You need to do professional photography for everybody, because you're 2 seconds away from somebody looking you up on Zillow. It's like Facebook. Everybody finds you now. It's that boyfriend that can always look you up.
God forbid. That's so scary. Why do you have to use that? I'm joking.
It's true though. I mean, I am single, so I am looking at everybody and everybody's looking at me. But that's the truth nowadays. Your realtor profile is out there. So as much as your personal face is everywhere, also are your listings. So you need to keep that in mind every time you post something up there. It's going to follow you forever.
What about the listings that are distressed properties? Do people ever do professional photography for those? I mean, I'm talking like 60,000 where there's a hole in the roof and stuff.
Yeah, but you focus on other things. Like you might focus on the actual property because you know you're going to you're selling the property, not the house. So we do a lot of listings that are just selling the property.
Okay.
And you don't really focus on the listing. Or you may do an aerial shoot.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So you're not highlighting what is the damaged property.
Right.
Like it's if you have a house that has, say, a big bush in the right on the side of it that's dead. We're going to try every way possible not to highlight that. It's just focusing on what the positive is instead of the negative. But if you have, horrible pictures to go along with a horrible listing, it's not going to help you. So, I told you guys that we are virtuous and we do professional photography. We also created HD Reel, which is our own imaging processing system, which means I said we have 20 photographers. So, it doesn't matter if you have Heather shoot one day and the next week Jill is available, because all of our pictures go through 25 different algorithms to take out all the imperfections. So we create the best photos, we bring the best qualities out of every room, and then they're sent back to you. Our image quality experts look at all the photos too before they're sent back to you. Does that make sense? So that's why we have such a huge staff, and unlike some of our competitors, you don't have to wait 3 weeks for Heather to become available because we're all using that same technology. And we also shoot from out to end to out, and that's the way you're going to get your tours from us. Your virtual tours are going to be sent like as the buyer's going through the house. We also label everything for you guys because we know that you need to be prospecting and you need to be selling, and you don't need to be looking at photos trying to figure out what they are. So we label everything for you because in the South, lots of room to label different things like foyers, like the frog room, keeping room, and the frog room, FYI, is the front room over the garage. Anybody didn't know?
It's the what?
Front room over the garage. I'm from South Carolina. I used to have to sleep in it when I was little. All right, what do we think of this photo? Can anybody tell me what it is?
That's really nice.
Dining room.
It's a professional photo. It's probably 80% better than what's out there now. It's a picture of a dining room, yes. But what's it focused on?
The light picture?
The table.
Yeah.
All right, now look at ours. Better?
Wow, more space.
Opens
It's
up room.
open from the angle.
So not only do we focus on what features and angles to focus on, right? So what's this picture of again? Lighting, the light picture.
Just the table.
The table. So we're not selling for IKEA, right guys? We want our buyers to focus on the room, and in this picture all you see is a table. We want the buyers to actually envision themselves in the room.
Yeah, that view is nice.
Perfect.
You can see outside the windows. The room really opens up. You can see the light coming in through the room. So subconsciously, see this light right here? All of a sudden, oh, that's probably going into the kitchen. You want your buyers to think about actually sitting down and eating with their family, not just being crowded in a little table.
Beautiful.
You want the room to actually be open and inviting, right? So all of our photographers are trained by Virtuous. They have to go through a training, and then that can be released to be photographed. But also, they go through a weekly session, and we look at all their photos. You also get a feedback form every time you work with us, and if you don't like something, you rate us. And we have a 96% satisfaction rate. And we are very happy with that, so that's what we're doing. Master suite, important room in the house.
Yeah.
One of the most important rooms.
And that looks small.
That looks cramped up. You didn't
It looks
even
a
get
little
good view of
dingy,
the
no?
fireplace.
But don't you think these people, the sellers, spent a lot of money on this room? I mean, they put a fireplace in there, right?
Yeah, they spent
You can't really see out the windows, but it looks like there's mountains there.
Ooh, I wish I could sleep in there right now.
Would you want to sleep in that room?
This one. Yes.
Okay, so question for you. They clearly didn't go at night and take this picture, but you
Well, we did.
did. So those are that is the actual outside for the night.
Yeah, we did a
Okay.
twilight shoot. So that's
okay.
different. And with us, when we shoot at twilight, we actually shoot at twilight. We don't Photoshop it in. But also, you can see that we pulled out, with our HD reel, we got the natural features. So you can see the actual stone, you can see the quilt, you can also see through the windows. And you can tell it's Colorado, you can see the snow and the mountains, right? So, here's the competitor. You're selling your house. You want to get the most money for your house. So as an agent, you want your agent to partner with the person that's going to help you get the most money. And that's going to be a question that a seller's going to ask you. Who are you using? Because you know your sellers do their due diligence now. They research. They know who's out there. They're going to ask you for aerial. They're going to ask you for everything under the sun. And you need to know what you're talking about. Because let me tell you, some houses don't want aerial. You don't want to be showing off that roof. But in this case, this seller wanted to use us, right? Because we're showing off their room in the best light possible. So we're going to get them more money. This photo's online. You can use this. Yeah, I'll show you that now. So these are some stats that I always like to show. Since working with Virtuance, we've won more listings for our clients. We've increased their showings. And we've sold their listings faster, which ultimately means our clients are happy, which means they're talking to people and they're telling their friends and family, which means you get more referrals, right? And that's what we want to do, increase your sphere of influence, which makes you more money, which we all want to do. So, Nancy Miner, she's a big player in the Keller Williams world back in, she works in the Keller Williams office, and she's about 80, so that's why I like her character. She came to us last year and she had a client that was moving to France and she needed to sell her home. So we took her photos. This is the kitchen and this is the master bathroom. And by using Virtuance to take the photos, she got an online offer when she put them online. And by getting an online offer, it triggered a multi-offer situation, which created a bidding war, and she was able to get $7,000 more than expected and 102% above listing.
Wow.
Which was pretty impressive since our clients needed to move within a week. And it just happened by putting the photos online. So Nancy was pretty excited. So we want that to happen all the time, right? So, HD reel enhancements. Sometimes your listings may not be as pretty as we all hope they will be and may not sell right away. So, as Nancy says, you got to use all your tools in your toolbox because sometimes you need a little bit of extra. So this is an example of a twilight shoot we did in Atlanta. So as I said, we shoot at twilight. All the photos you're going to get back are at twilight. It looks beautiful for the right listing. It's amazing. But just keep in mind, it is for the right listing. But it's amazing.
Who determines if it's the right listing or not?
I can help you. You know, I mean, you're not going to do it for like a typical townhouse where you can't see. You want it to be like in the woods, on the lake. Okay. Something really fantastic, showing off like the house and the lighting and everything.
Got it.
Interactive floor plans. If you click on the little hot spots where my checks are, the rooms will show up. So in Atlanta, a lot of the houses keep the original footprint and then they expand. They add on. So the house on site looks small when you face it, and then it goes back and back and back. So people that are looking online from out of town or just looking online might get really confused. So an interactive floor plan is really popular. They use these a lot. A lot of agents love them because it gives buyers a better idea and they can start planning out where they want their furniture, and it helps them be interactive. Aerial shot. We do drones. We actually have lowered our pricing in Atlanta, and a lot of people are using it more and more. But again, right situation.
It's beautiful.
Right, but it's the right situation. So, as I said, we lowered our aerial pricing, and that's our pricing now.
For aerial only?
Yeah, I'll give you pricing for everything in a second. Guys, marketing tool, this is free. Utilize it. Every time you use us, you're gonna get a marketing report that tells you how often people are looking at your photos, which photos are most popular. Anywhere you put your branded tour on social media, we track it for you. You can send this directly to your clients. If you're getting a lot of traffic and not getting any offers, there's probably a reason. Your house is probably listed too high. This is gonna help you. I've had a lot of agents use this to negotiate a lower price with their clients. This is free to you guys to use when you go on your listing presentations. We have member resources. You don't even have to work with us. It's free. You just get a username and password. Those PowerPoint slides I showed you earlier, the before and after pictures, you can download them. We have a pre-shoot checklist to tell your clients how to get ready for a shoot. Makes us the bad guys. All this stuff is free for you guys. Last, our pricing. The 25 image package I'm giving away today. It's $149 credit or 25 image package. Most people buy the 25 image package. 40 images used to be what you could put on MLS. Now it's come up to like 75. I wouldn't recommend that. But so all this is available online too. Okay. Last but not least, this is the feedback form. This is the most important thing. If you guys can put your name and email and I can read it, I will send you a 15% promo code. It's supposed to be good for 2 weeks, but because you guys are in tonight, I give it to you until you get your first listing. You have to
say that 2 weeks is a lot of pressure. We're still trying to figure out how to open up our emails.
That's why I let you guys have it until you get your first or your next listing. You just have to call me and remind me because it will expire. You just have to say, Jennifer, I was in Ignite, remember? And I'll say, oh yeah, let me reissue it to you, and I give it to you. So it helps offset your marketing costs. And that's it.
All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for lunch.
Yeah. So I'll draw you guys this card and then I'll leave. Deborah.
Me. Oh, you know, in my head, oh my God, I just jinxed myself. I was like, please don't look at me. That puts pressure on me to go through. No, I need it. I actually was thinking in my head. Oh God, I can't take the pressure.
That's so funny.
That is not good.
I know.
But the good thing is, I mean, it's not a good thing, but it doesn't expire. Like you can use it whenever.
No. I gotta go bedazzle someone and make them believe I'm ready.
You're ready.
You're ready.
Go out there and do it. Listen, the first time I gave a presentation, I shook through the whole thing, and the guy in the class videoed me. It was so embarrassing.
That's funny.
How much are the drones?
It starts at $199.
And why do you say starts at? Because what's the difference?
Well, you can do stills. Like you get 10 still images for $199.
Okay.
But if you want a video, it's $299.
Do we, as the agents, if we purchase them, do we own the?
You don't own the photos, but you can do anything with them. We own the rights, which you want us to, because if there's ever in a situation where somebody gets sued or there's a imaging situation, we go after the person. Like say Sears tries to use our images like to sell a refrigerator, we would go after Sears. Does it make sense? But you can use them for any type of marketing. You can use them for brochures, flyers, anything you want to do. Like if you want to send them out on postcards. Is there something you're thinking you want to do with them?
I'm just wondering, like, if you list a property and then for some reason they move and you relist the property.
You can't that's like against the law in general. You can't use the same photos to relist it once it's sold.
Even if, if you take pictures when the house is empty, you can't use the pictures.
Correct, you can't.
Because that's
They're
copyright, right?
They're copyrighted. Those photos are owned.
Yeah, you can't.
In a sense, it's copyrighted.
You can't reuse the same photos. Like you have to start over.
No.
Also, like people that you shoot their house, they've tried before, like they want the pictures, but we own them. So it relieves you of that pressure. Like say you get into a situation with somebody and it doesn't end well, you don't have to be liable. It comes back to us.
There was actually a lawsuit, this was probably about 8-9 years ago or something, where a house had been listed and of course there were pictures and everything on the web, right? Those people had lived in there. Then an agent was relisting it. He pulled the photos from the website instead of having someone else come out there and do the photos. He was sued for using those photos and lost a lot of money.
Wow.
So that's what she means by that. You can't do that.
And then, do you guys automatically upgrade into like FMLS and
Yeah, so you get an email from us when the shoot is complete. You get an email from us with your photos. You get the small, medium, large, and then you also get a link with the branded and unbranded tour. What I mean by that is like the branding has your Keller Williams and all that, and then the unbranded is what you will put on FMLS and Georgia MLS, and it's just you click on it and it just you drop down and pick which ones you are. Like Georgia MLS, FMLS, Georgia FMLS. It's super easy. Because we can't.
I mean, we put it on there, you guys can go into the back and do it.
We cannot do it because it's illegal for us to actually do it. We send you the link to do it, but we cannot actually upload your images.
Because you have a password and login for FMLS and Georgia MLS. You're the only person that can put your listing in the system. Unless you have an assistant, you know, that you've given your username and password to. But you wouldn't want to give your username and password out to anybody to be uploading your pictures and, you know, and all of that.
Yeah, Georgia, it's just illegal for people, but it's super easy. You click on it and it like literally you drop down and pick it and you just send it. You literally put the link right there. It takes 2 seconds. Because I've walked 1,000 agents through it.
Okay, and then lastly, and I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
The aerial, the pricing that was on that, is it $199 plus the $149 for 25 images?
Yeah, so aerial is completely separate. We have an aerial photographer. He's FAA insured, and he comes out and he shoots aerial. That's a separate, completely different thing. Also, FYI, you guys are free to use whoever you want, but if you use an aerial guy that is not with Virtuance, ask if they're insured. Because if they are not, and there's an accident that occurs, your client is liable. And it could be a big deal. Okay, so I will get, if you guys will fill out those forms, and then I can get out of your hair, because I want to send you your promo codes. And if you have any more questions, call my cell phone. I mean, I'll be happy to answer anything, especially when you get a listing, because I know it gets confusing.
And you said you were going to give us the new aerial pricing?
It's online,
Oh.
and it's there. Yeah. And I also do team meetings, so when you guys start going to team meetings, you'll see me there too. And I'm going to send out an email about the aerial pricing, actually.
Okay.
It'll be coming from Rachel.
Thanks again for lunch.
Absolutely.
Thank you, that's so
You
nice.
should be one presenting.
I'm glad you guys liked it.
Okay, so we left off with going over the listing presentation. And then we're on actually page 28, if you guys have it. It's just talking about in preparation, be in preparation. We've already gone over a lot of this because your pre-listing packet is going to take place of a lot of this already. However, and we already talked about, you know, getting there on time, obviously, maybe even a little bit before. Dress professionally. Know your audience. We talked about that, right? Okay. Uncover and prioritize the seller's needs. So, we already talked about this too, asking a lot of questions. listen more than you talk. For some of us, that's harder to do. Thank you. I think I listen to you guys pretty good though when y'all come in and talk to me. Yeah, but otherwise, I talk more. Affirm the responses with great, that's wonderful, yes. When, have you ever watched any of the videos where somebody's doing a presentation and the person sitting across from them, or, you know, they're listening to the seller or anything and the listing agent is going, that's fantastic.
Amazing.
Yeah, right?
Amazing.
Oh my gosh, okay. Do not do that.
Amazing.
I definitely recorded myself one day as I was showing a house, and I recorded myself and I heard the words. I was like, I have a broad vocabulary. I know a ton of words. And literally, I said about like 5 words over and over again while this lady was talking to me. And I'm like, I was so disappointed in myself. I was like, it's time to bring out the thesaurus right now because it's insane.
Yeah, you gotta be genuine, right? Be genuine. Right. Let's see. Don't assume they already know something, right? And if they ask you something you don't know, what do you say?
I'll get back to you.
I am 95% sure, but let me just double check and I'll get back to you.
I'm not sure,
Just
but
lie.
I will
Just
refer
lie.
you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. So just say, you know, that's a great question. I don't have an answer for you, but I will find out and I'll have the answer for you today. Right? And don't forget, when you leave there, that's important that you get that answer, right? Okay. This is still, let's see, delivering a 10 plus experience. What's that look like to you?
Over and above.
Amazing.
Over and above. Okay, so here's a good question for all of you. When's the last time you went out to eat?
Last night.
Okay, so on a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being the lowest and 10 being the highest, what would you grade the restaurant? A 1 or a 10?
The restaurant
8+.
itself? Or
The
server?
restaurant itself.
It was a 9.
From
Okay.
1 to 10?
What?
You said 1 to 10.
1 to 10, 1 being the lowest, 10 being the highest. All right, a 9. Okay. What would and why? What makes you give them a 9?
It was, I don't know, like the ambiance. It was Stony River. But I was like, this place is so expensive, it should be amazing.
Yeah.
And it was nice, but it wasn't, I don't know, it was just okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so then why
A
would
9,
Nine's
a 9
pretty
okay.
high, though.
A 9.
Yeah, 9 is the high.
You're being
It's a
gracious based on
scale
what
from
you
1 to
just
10.
And that's sushi.
Just because
It had no
it
wow
wasn't
factor.
amazing to me, so 9.
Okay, so the service, 1 to 10.
10.
A 10. Okay,
Great.
how come?
Well, my brother-in-law had requested a dish that he had years ago when he used to go to Stony River, and they didn't make it anymore. But she's like, you know what? I think we might have this and that made that dish. Let me go back and talk to the chef, and they made it for us. We were like the last people there. They went above and beyond trying to get us out the door. I mean, like, they didn't try to push us out, but it's like they really went above and beyond for us because she was wanting to make it a great experience.
Okay, awesome. Good. So, what if it was a bad restaurant? When was the last time you went to a bad restaurant?
All the time.
Okay.
Marlowe's.
These days.
Okay. And so what happened?
It's just the most pathetic version of a restaurant that's a chain.
It always
And
takes forever
Which
at
one?
Marlowe's
It's just
to get anything.
we're at Marlowe's again. It's just might as well be Applebee's at this point.
Don't do it anymore.
Why do you keep going back?
Convenience.
Convenience.
Yeah.
And they have my wine.
Which location?
Once they lose that, it's gone.
Which location is that?
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay. The one in Kennesaw is not too bad. 'cause
Yeah,
it's
it is.
my old job.
Yeah,
I get
it's
tired.
pretty
Of
good.
I get tired of the menu. I think that's what it is.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, just keep in mind that you're being judged the same way, right? All the time. So if you have a bad experience, are you going to recommend that place?
No.
No.
Okay. If you have a great experience, are you going to recommend that place?
Absolutely.
We went on a recommendation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Same thing. Exactly the same thing. So, is it important to ask your seller what that looks like to them? What a 10 plus experience would be for them?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And so you're going to listen to their answers, and then are you going to do those things?
I'm
Yeah.
sure if it's not extreme.
Yeah, 90% of the time, it is. You will hear from sellers that the agent did not communicate with them properly. Okay, that they never knew what they were doing to get the house sold. Right, very slow to respond, kind of thing. Right. So when you're hearing those things, just make sure, like, I'm not going to be that agent. Right. Okay. How would you like for your sellers to talk to you?
With respect.
I was just about to say that.
I was too.
But be
Singing
transparent.
But what's that look like to you? Respect for one person may be completely different than what it is to you.
Well, I don't respond well to people being aggressive, and like their tone of voice is important for me. So I don't like aggressive, overbearing people. Like that doesn't fit well with my personality.
Okay, so
She's not gonna
if you
bear that.
have a seller that's aggressive because they're very upset, okay, they're very upset. So their house has been on the market for 25 days now. They haven't gotten an offer yet, and they're really upset. How would you handle that?
I would acknowledge their concern.
Okay.
And I would say, I acknowledge that I want you to know that I hear you. I understand that you're very upset about this. But let's come up with a plan. Let's figure out what we can do. Let's brainstorm some ideas that we can do to get this property sold.
Okay.
If it hadn't had any offers, like we can look at all the data. If there hasn't been many showings, we can maybe offer to talk about decreasing the price as a possible option.
Okay. So one thing just to keep in mind, you never want to argue with your client.
Yeah.
It's not going to do you any good. And all they're going to do is ramp up their aggressiveness and ramp up their voice and get more upset. The next thing you know, you're fired. So the best thing to do is just listen and listen to let them vent, and don't take it personally, you know. And it's kind of like you almost have to let it go in one ear and out the other, but resolve the issue at the same time, right?
Sure.
It is
Now-
an emotional process. though.
Yeah, it's very
You can
emotional.
Shouldn't you,
understand.
be, as an agent, be the aggressive one to go, I know it's been on the market 25 days.
Yes.
I'm going to go ahead and come to you first before
Yes.
you come to me.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. Yes, ma'am.
Or at least have.
I had a buyer who, she wasn't cursing at the person she was speaking to, but she had a difference of opinion with the mortgage broker. And I was attempting to help her, so I called Certainty here and was like, you know, maybe we can get you with a different company, blah, 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 blah. But she was so upset that she was constantly cursing and what have we in it. And Sherry was like, I'm sorry.
I don't know if I would want to work with you.
I don't want to work with her.
That was with Sherry?
Yes.
Because Sherry's
Wow.
awesome.
I know, but this person was just like, and I mean, she was just, and she was like, you know what, I'm sorry, but I just don't want to work with
Yeah.
her. And I ran into that time and time again, even in trying to get to partner her with vendors.
With
and
the
what
same
have we.
person?
Yes.
Okay.
Because she just,
Let go.
I mean, she's military, and she's just, I mean, that's her language. But I didn't know, you know, if I should, and I tried tempering. I was like, well, you know, they're really, really trying to help us, so we just got to be calm, and blah, 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 blah. And to her, she was calm, and the language she was using, she was like, well, I wasn't cursing at her.
That's the PTSD.
So I don't know. I mean, in those, I eventually ended up talking to her partner and saying, look, you know what, I need you to handle these transactions. And what have we, and we'll bring her in at the end. But I mean, do you suggest talking to the person as their agent? Because she was literally shooting herself in the foot all the way around.
Yeah, I think you've got to set some boundaries there.
'Cause it makes you look bad as
I
well.
mean, I think you really have to set those boundaries. And you have to demand the respect too. Like if she's in your car or she's with you and she's like cussing and all of that, if it were me and she got off the phone, I'd look at her and I would say, please don't use that kind of language around me. I really do not appreciate it. I do not like it, period. You know? And I would try to help her to see how she was shooting herself in the foot, you know, because, and like with Sherry's the most patient and kind and like will
She
do
spent
anything
45
she
minutes
can.
on the phone with her.
Exactly.
She called me back.
Exactly.
She was like, I want to help, but I just can't.
Can't do it. And so did you tell her that? Did you explain that to her that she, you know, so there's times when you have yeah. So there's times when you do have to have that uncomfortable conversation, right? And then you have to make a decision, do you want to continue to work with that person or not? Because there's not a written law that says you can't fire somebody. I have fired several clients in the past. You know, I have fired them and told them, you know, I'm no longer going to keep your property on
But
the
we
market.
spent 3
Good luck.
months finding that house for her. And I mean, we were just right there, and it was, she got upset with the mortgage company, and it went.
Well, being that I used to be in the mortgage industry, you want to talk about heightened anxiety.
Yeah.
It's talking to borrowers about their finances. I mean, you can get, I've been called everything in the book on the phone. I'm like,
What?
I didn't pay my mortgage late. You did.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you wouldn't believe that what you guys don't know that they can't tell you.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
And they're scared to tell their realtor, I've been late on my mortgage and I'm struggling to get this mortgage.
yeah.
They're not gonna tell you.
Was
They're
part
not
of
gonna
the
tell
issue.
you.
Her mortgage had been sold from one company to another, and she kept sending the payment to the previous company. Now they sent her notification, but she tore it up. She didn't open it because she was like, I don't have anything with them.
Yeah.
So when she got Chase stuff, she was like, trash.
Yeah.
And they were notifying her, we bought your mortgage. You need to pay us. So she kept sending it to the other company. It reflected late,
Right.
and it changed her disclosure thing drastically, because now what was initially the points and what have we, you know, was out the window, because now your credit report has changed because it shows you were late.
Well, wouldn't you, I mean, were they cashing her mortgage check, the other company that she was sending it to?
They held it.
So
and
don't you
tried to
watch your
find out
checking
where-
account and see what's cleared and what hasn't?
Well, they held
That's
it.
exactly
They
how the
held
credit
it,
bureau
and then
was
they
with.
sent it back. But in the time that they sent it back, it was like 30 days, so it reflected late.
Yeah.
Ignorance does not get you out of a bad credit
Right,
score.
right. It doesn't. So, but yeah, there's times when you might have to fire a client, and that's quite all right. If somebody is, disrespecting you, mistreating you, just not fire them. Because I do know this for sure. Sometimes you can hold on to something for so long, but it's causing you so much stress, right? That nothing else good is going to come to you. So sometimes when you get rid of something, then the floodgates open and the good stuff comes in, right?
Amen to that.
Yeah. So, all right. So, why Keller Williams? Why use Keller Williams? What would you say to somebody? Why use Keller Williams? Number one.
The network of the realtors here.
Okay.
It's going to allow you probably to put you in the best position to be able to make the deal work in the best way possible.
Good. Okay. All right. So there's a lot of different reasons. The Rawls Group, which does everybody know who the Rawls Group is?
I don't understand that.
Okay. So each Keller Williams office is independently owned. Okay. So the Rawls Group owns this office, the office in Marietta, the office in Buckhead, the office over here off of Glen Ridge, office on
Oswald?
The one in Smyrna, is that?
That's what, yeah, City Side.
Cityside.
Yeah, so City Side, Peachtree, Buckhead, Sandy Springs, and this office. Did I say Marietta on Roswell Road? Okay, so they own all of those offices. Okay, so for the Atlanta Business Chronicle, which polls companies within the Atlanta area, every year they pull real estate companies and they determine who the number one is because of best service, customer, and all that. There you go. And the Rawls Group hits number one every single time. So it's not just Keller Williams, it's the company that you're with, the Rawls Group.
So who, is there anybody here in this office that's associated with the owning of the franchise, like the Rawls people?
What do you mean?
Who's Rawls? Whose name is that?
Gene Rawls
Yes.
is the owner.
Okay.
Okay.
And who is he? Where is he?
It's a woman.
Okay. And she?
Is she?
Good for her.
She actually lives not far from here.
Okay.
Okay, but she is the owner of all of those offices.
Okay.
So she has her own office.
She has her own office, and she has her own, a huge group of people that work underneath her.
Including us, basically.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Good look at it that way.
Do you ever see
But,
her?
pardon me?
Do you ever see her?
All the time.
So do we have marketing material about
Yes,
Keller
yes,
Williams Rawls
yes.
Group?
Yes, we do. So on the intranet, okay,
Send that place
has
again.
all of the stats that under Chartmasters that talks about the Rawls Group, what we do compared to other Keller Williams offices. Like for instance, our list price to sales price ratio is higher than a lot of other Keller Williams offices. So all of that information is on there. The fact that we're also number one real estate organization, not just Keller Williams, but the Rawls Group is number one compared. So for instance, there's another, the Hell Group, or the Hell, it's not group, it's Hell, anyways. So Rick Hell owns the North Cobb, Midtown, Camp Creek, Woodstock, West Cobb, and Decatur office. He owns 6, okay? So his company is the Hell something, Hell Realty Group or something. So he owns all those offices. His company, the Hell, comes in number 2. So it's the Rawls Group and then the Rick Hell Group. And then some of the other companies, some of the other organizations, LLCs that own other Keller Williams offices make up a group.
Question. So is she the broker over all 6
No,
offices?
she is not. Lynn LaCroix is our qualifying broker.
Okay.
Okay, but Jean has her broker's license. She just chooses not to be. Like I have my broker's license, and I choose not to be a broker. Jean chooses not to be a broker. So Lynn LaCroix is our qualifying broker that oversees all of our all of the Rawls Group stuff.
Okay. Well, no, she's
Where is
pretty
she?
good. I remember
Yeah,
she
she's
wrote,
awesome.
She wrote me an escalation clause on a Saturday,
Wow.
Yeah.
early afternoon. The
Lynn
broker.
is awesome.
Yeah, I emailed her and she sent it back out
Where
to
is
me like
she?
in 20 minutes or less.
Lynn's office is here, but you're not yet. She comes in and teaches classes. In fact, she's teaching purchase and sale agreements tomorrow after the sales meeting, I do believe. Yeah, her and Renee do. So that is who oversees your purchase and sale, your listing agreements, and everything that you do. That is Lynn LaCroix. So when you start sending in purchase and sale agreements, it goes to the compliance department, and Lynn is the one and her team. They'll spot things that need to be done, and then you'll receive an email from Lynn saying, please correct these type things.
It'll just pop into your dot loop and it's like you got a task list.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I cannot reiterate enough about what you get from me, or that's what the page says, what you get from me. So these are all the different things that you're going to do for somebody. And again, make sure that you just agree with what is in writing before you tell anyone or give anybody this out.
What page are you on, Terry?
I am now on page 42.
We don't have a 42.
Yeah, we don't have half of the pages you've gone through,
What? I don't understand.
which makes it very hard to learn this.
I don't have any of that.
It was vacation week for Stacy.
It was what?
It was vacation week. It was
Well, and you know that you don't have to print these out. You know that you can follow this on your laptop from my KW. You just go into the Ignite button. and click on that. Okay? Right. But I think a lot of people like paper though.
I'm
You can-
old-fashioned.
Yeah, write notes and stuff like that. Okay, servicing and marketing. So right here on this page 43. Do y'all have page 43?
But it doesn't say servicing and marketing.
Mine says
The home selling
Here,
process.
down here,
Right.
on one.
Oh, got it.
Okay. It talks about your 14-step marketing plan. Just make sure all of those are 14 steps. And actually, there's probably some additional steps that you can add to that too eventually if you'd like to. Offers and negotiations, that you're going to be the one to receive the offers and you're going to be the one negotiating on their behalf. Contract to close, you're going to do all the coordination of getting that, worked out and so forth. Making sure that you get a smooth closing, right?
Are you the one, like, as the agent, as the listing agent, are you the one that chooses the,
Closing attorney?
Yeah.
Typically the buyer does.
Okay.
Okay, because the closing attorney is representing the lender. Closing attorney is not representing the buyer or the seller, they're representing the lender.
Okay.
So typically the buyer does. However, when I take a listing, I put in private remarks who the closing attorney is going to be.
Okay.
Okay?
I like that.
So you can, right? You can choose that person if you want. There's some special circumstances. For instance, for whatever reason, for about a year, I kept getting like people that had passed, and so there was estate sales, and there was like all this different things like probate and all that. So for a while there, I was getting those left and right for whatever reason. I don't know. So things like that. Sometimes you've got to go ahead and contact a closing attorney so that they can get all of that paperwork and the power of attorney and make sure that the probate paperwork has gone through and all of that stuff. So if they've already done that much work prior to a closing, you definitely need to say, the closing must be with whoever.
But you're saying you put it in your contract where it's going to be when you're not the seller.
When I list it. When I
When you
list
list
a
it, you're
property, I put
attempt-
in private remarks who the closing attorney is
You
going
attempt
to
to want it to be
be.
your.
Yeah, but I went out every time.
Just because you put it in there.
Yeah,
Why do you choose?
So what if your buyer comes
because of people I have a relationship with and I trust and I know
And you know
they're
they're
going
gonna
to
get
get
it
the job
done.
done. Yeah.
Go to bad attorneys. And
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And what if your buyer's agent says, I'd like to use my attorney?
Yeah, then you just say, okay,
Okay.
So like for instance, on different things, you can explain like to the buyer's agent, say, well, this attorney has already done all the probate work, done the
Gotcha.
warranty,
Okay.
and so it needs to stay with them, okay? And then they can
And then
explain
they're
that
like,
to
"That's
their
easy."
buyer and they get it, and all of that stuff, so.
And sometimes the attorney will offer a discount because they've already done, like if they bought,
Mhm.
at least an
That's true.
investments
That's true.
that happens.
But with Ganic, they're really good. I mean, I would use just, if you can push that to use Ganic, Renee, then definitely do that. You won't be disappointed in the service that they provide.
Where's their office?
They have an office, it's not far from here, like maybe a couple of minutes away.
14-step marketing plan.
Mhm.
Did I miss the 14 steps? Was that everything we just went over?
No, you didn't miss the 14 steps. It's not, they're not listed in here, but it is listed on KW. All right, a smooth closing. So, who do you think is responsible for getting all the documentation over to the closing attorney?
The listing
It
agent.
depends. It depends. It depends. It can be you, or it can be the buyer's agent, right? But before you set up the closing time, you just want to coordinate that with everybody. Is this closing time? We're scheduled to close on September the 13th. Would 2:00 in the afternoon work for everybody? You want to make sure that you do that. Okay. And the later in the month that the closing is going to take place, the sooner you need to go ahead and book that closing time. okay? Because later in the month is primarily the time when people are closing. So the closing attorney gets all amendments except for the amendment to address concerns. So they get the purchase and sale agreement, the HOA, the seller's disclosure. If an amendment comes over to where you have to change the price, that goes to the closing attorney. If you have to change the name on the contract because the name has to be the legal name, and sometimes people will abbreviate, and so that has to go to the closing attorney. Any amendment that you do is going to go to the closing attorney. If you are purchasing, if the purchase and sale agreement calls for a home warranty to be bought, then that will go to the closing attorney. Termite letter, that will go to the closing attorney. So all of that stuff goes. Any questions? Okay. All right. Be sure to tell them the location of the closing attorney, and be sure to tell them to bring a legal ID, so that can be a passport or a valid driver's license with them. Why do you think that's important?
Because they need to know it's you and not someone else representing you who doesn't have the power of attorney.
That's correct. So there's been, true story, there was a bunch of land sold. It was like, I think about 30 acres. And the husband and wife, her name was Teresa Smith, and I don't remember what his name was. This didn't happen to me, but this happened. So her name was Teresa Smith, and I don't remember what his name, but we're going to call it Mr. and Mrs. Smith. They went to closing, and the name on the deed of this property was Teresa Smith and, let's say, Rob Smith. Okay. And so they went to closing, showed the closing attorney, driver's license, and all that, right? Good to go. About a year passes. Teresa Smith, his sister, shows up and says, "Where's my mother's property that I inherited with my brother, Rob?" Yeah. So his wife's name was the same name as his sister's.
Ooh. Weird.
Yeah. Right? Okay, but that was no fault of closing attorney or anything like that. However, the sister was able to sue, and so the people that bought the 30 acres, they did not acquire title insurance on their property when they closed on
That's
it.
the first thing you gotta do.
So, what do you think happened?
They don't have ownership.
They don't have
can't
ownership.
sue.
So now they're being sued, and they have now got to come out of pocket to prove.
Did they choose not to? They didn't want to pay for title insurance.
Correct.
Hence why you always buy title insurance.
Exactly.
It's not mandatory.
It's not mandatory, and neither in the state of
Highly
Georgia, having a survey is not mandatory either.
But you
Watch new construction contracts though. Watch new construction contracts. New construction contracts are typically going to be a lot different than your purchase and sale agreement for resale, okay? Because those are written by an attorney for those builders. So a lot of new construction contracts are going to state in there that the buyer purchased a survey.
Are termite letters still mandatory?
They are not mandatory. The only loan that it is mandatory on is a VA.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Used to be though.
It used to be. It used to be in the purchase and sale agreement that the seller was to provide a termite letter. Now it's up to the buyer to ask for a termite letter to be given to them in special steps of the purchase and sale agreement offer. Okay, but the seller can refuse.
And nowadays they're refusing, at least in this area, everything.
Yeah. So, but on a VA, the seller has to be,
Yeah.
is absolutely 100% responsible for that termite letter.
Right.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, so 3 factors. We talked about this already. Condition of the house, marketing the house, and price of the house. Condition, great condition sells. It just talks about keeping the grass fresh and all that. And a lot of this stuff that is in here is in your pre-listing packet if you choose to use your pre-listing packet, okay?
And where's
Oh.
the listing packet? Did I?
Pardon me?
King.com, enter whatever.
What?
And we're trying now.
Is it mykw.com?
The listing packet is in the intranet?
It's in, I don't know, it may be, but it's definitely in mykw.com.
Yeah.
Here's the 14-step marketing plan right there. It is page 51. So it's pricing your home, advise you how to attract buyers by showing your home in the best possible light, place for sale signs, respond to all buyer inquiries. Optimize your home's internet presence by posting your property in the Keller Williams listing system, on local global MLS systems, and on social media with plenty of photographs and description of your property. Market your home on multiple websites. Post your home on my I cannot say that word. Proprietary. Thank you.
Yeah.
Search app. Create flyers and comment cards. Distribute just listed notices. Target my marketing to active real estate agents. Include your home in our company MLS tours. Create an open house schedule. Target active buyers and investors in your database. Provide you with weekly updates detailing my marketing efforts. So there's actually, this really needs to be revised because there's so much more that you can do with technology, you know.
Well, I was going to say, when they say market your home on multiple websites, and you already mentioned KWs.
Well,
And FMLS is a given.
right,
So
so
what would that be?
So when you put in a listing, there is what is called Listing Hub. Listing Hub grabs the listing that you've put in there and they spider it out to every website known to man.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. So it goes automatically in the KWLS system. It goes to over 250 websites automatically. But then that listing is also going to be, because of the reciprocity agreement that we have with everybody, it's also going to be goes to Zillow, goes to Redfin, Caldwell Banker, Metro Brokers, Berkshire Hathaway, all of that stuff. Yeah, yeah. And then if you have a good system in the place, it should be going on LinkedIn, Pinterest, Google Plus. This is all stuff you have to do, though. Okay, this is all stuff you have to do. Listing Hub does not put it on Pinterest or it goes on Google Plus, but it does not go to Pinterest, Facebook,
No social
Instagram, LinkedIn. There's a couple other ones. Twitter. It does. Those are all
You
things
have to
that
do
you
it.
have to do. Mm-hmm.
Pinterest. Never thought
I
anybody
never,
looked for a house on
heard
Pinterest.
that. How interesting.
That's interesting.
So, talking about Zillow, you want to go ahead and go in there and create a profile on Zillow. Because when you take a listing, it's going to hit. So when you create a profile on Zillow, then it's going to ask you for your license number and your FMLS code. And so that's how it will match up your listing with your name.
Cool.
Okay?
So if we have a homeowner profile, if this is a separate thing.
Separate thing, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And it won't give me a problem. Okay.
Right.
All right.
Do not, I beg of you, do not get into the game of paying Zillow for leads.
Don't.
Do not.
Somebody I know got a
Do not. I beg of you.
They had
Do
a
not
job
do it.
opportunity from Zillow, and he told me a whole bunch of stuff this weekend that I didn't even know. I was like,
It's very expensive. And if you have a huge marketing budget, then Zillow can be a good thing as long as you've got a big enough budget for a great number of leads to come in. Because it's about 1 out of every 100 leads you get before they actually turn into a contact, which you actually turn into a real legitimate sale. 1 out of every 100. That make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So you don't even get 100 leads from there. Okay? So just be careful. Because you're going to start getting calls from everybody and their brother.
Oh, it's already happened.
And they're gonna like, oh, I promise you this, I promise you that. Here's the thing, there's a big difference between marketing and prospecting. Does anybody know the difference?
yes.
What?
think we went over it. If I'm not mistaken, prospecting is actually going like to the doors or actively doing it, or like sending out stuff. And then what's the other one? Marketing. Maybe that's a little more virtual and putting yourself out there through social media and stuff.
Marketing, you're exactly right. So prospecting is being proactive. Prospecting is picking up the phone, calling people, doing door knocking, holding open houses, engaging with people, going to networking events, meeting other people. That's prospecting. Marketing is if you're sending out postcards, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, anything that you're trying to do to make people come to you, that's marketing. Okay? So when you're marketing, keep this in mind, it takes 16 impressions for somebody to really be interested enough in talking to you. 16 total impressions for it to be in their head that John is a realtor. Okay? So you can spend a lot of money. All right. Okay. Price is determined by who? Is it determined by us, or is it determined by the home seller?
The market.
The market.
Okay.
The market.
You mean price, not like
the market determines what the price, what the market will bear, right? So I noticed this morning on FMLS there is a little window down on the left that shows you days on market, supply, price decreases, and things like that. I noticed this morning that there have been more price decreases than new listings taken. What's that tell you about the market?
Slowing down.
It's changing.
So on that FMLS, is that this area? What area is it telling you?
All over. It's Metro
All over
Atlanta.
Metro Atlanta. Okay.
Metro Atlanta. Okay, comparative properties. So, how many of you done a CMA or taken a class on a CMA?
Other than for the
I
studying.
signed up for one.
Okay.
When
Okay,
you guys
good.
are away.
Good. And you will go over that in here too. All right. So that when if you're coming to me, we will do that on a one-on-one basis. Do a current market analysis. It takes practice. It takes a while before you're really going to feel confident and real comfortable with what you've decided that the house needs to be at. So when you are faced with that, just, you've got me that you can always come to. You've got Stacy. You've got a ton of people that can help you with that. Okay. So, but I would suggest that you take that course that FMLS gets on CMAs and things like that too. Okay. And then there's a course in Ignite about CMAs and everything as well. And I think, aren't y'all going to have to do a real listing presentation with Stacy?
I don't know.
We were told that.
When?
Okay, all right. It's near the end.
Oh,
I think.
really?
Yeah, I think
I
so.
hope not.
That's exciting.
Okay.
I have to use my personality.
Okay, so listing agreement documentation. All right. So, all of that stuff is going to be in your .loop. All of your forms are in FMLS as well. And so what I like to do is have everything already printed, including price, their names, the address, and everything. And I've got it all prepared before I go on my listing presentation. I don't want to sit there and have to hand write stuff out. It would take forever. Okay? So I would really, I cannot stress enough, know your forms. Know what it says in there, okay? Because if somebody says, well, I've just decided I'm not going to close, well, they can't just decide they're not going to close, all right? Because they can be sued, right, for commission, right, and for damages. So just know your forms. Right? Anytime a class is given by Lynn or Renee on purchase and sale agreements, amendments, I suggest you take it. Okay.
Like tomorrow, is that just a show up or we have to sign up?
I think you just show up. Yeah. I don't think
It's
you,
it's like on our schedule,
Yeah.
so I
Yeah.
assumed.
And also the calendar for the office and all the events are also on the intranet. Okay. Seller's disclosure statement. So that seller's disclosure statement has a lot of stuff on there. Be sure and go over that with your seller. You're going to send that with your pre-listing packet. And hopefully they've got it filled out when you walk in, because then you know you got the listing. If it's sitting there, you're like,
And then you sit
I
down
got
and go
this.
over it with them?
You still want to go over it with them and make sure that, because any little box that is checked there, they are responsible for that. So if they check that they're leaving the washer and dryer, okay, then they're leaving the washer and dryer. Right? If they check they're leaving the refrigerator, they're leaving the refrigerator. What I recommend is you tell, even if they want to leave the refrigerator and the washer and dryer, tell them not to check that on the seller's disclosure, because it can be a negotiating piece. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Moving checklist and end of appointment. So you can give them a checklist that shows them all the things that you could actually create your own marketing plan and let them know that this is what will happen this week, such as professional photos will be done, blah, 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 you know, and all that, and so that they can keep up and they know what to expect. You'll also want to get from your sellers, you'll want to get a list of their utility companies, and you may ask them to average out the bills, like what their gas bill is, what their electric bill is, and that kind of thing, because a lot of buyers will ask for that. They'll want to know what the average utility bills are. So go ahead and get that. You want to get all phone numbers and contact information for everybody that is on the deed, and if there's an emergency number or something like that, especially if they're going out of town. Okay.
How about the HOA? You get like the president's number?
No,
Because
it's
do you
the
want
seller's
them-
responsibility to do all that stuff. So never, ever, ever, I'm glad you asked that question. Never, ever, ever fill out any of that paperwork for your seller. Never fill out the HOA information paperwork. Never fill out that seller's disclosure for your seller, okay? You never fill out any paperwork except for the buyer brokerage agreement, the exclusive listing agreement. That's pretty much it. Everything else is on your seller and your buyer's responsibility. Okay.
So you ask them to provide the buyer with all the covenants and blah,
Yes.
blah, blah.
Yes. They'll give them to you, right? But they're the ones, because if you fill out any of that paperwork, guess who's liable? All right. So what to expect next, activity list. Here's some, not a lot on there. Sign the yard, lockbox on the door, posted and influence.
How many
staging,
people get
blah, blah, blah.
staging consultations?
A lot of people get staging consultations. So it's really going to be.
Is that you, the agent, is paying for that?
Depends. Some agents do pay for it, some agents don't.
My agent didn't.
And it also depends on the price point of the house. Yeah, depends on the price point of the house too. I wouldn't recommend that every house be staged.
I think you have to use your instinct on that
Yeah,
too. If
you
you walk
do.
into one and you're like, this is
90% of it's decluttering.
Yeah,
It
totally.
really is.
Yeah, that's really all it is. I mean,
Yeah, and you want to make sure that you need to explain to them at the listing that all the decluttering, everything needs to be gone before the photographer comes in. Moving checklist, that's on there for you to give. And that's it, guys. Do you have any questions?
No, you were very thorough.
very thorough.
Yay! Good. Good.
I need a cookie. Sugar.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate you being here.
Thanks, Terry. That was great.
Be sure and fill out your form to give to Miss Stacy. Here's some graphs and charts that actually Stacy printed out for you guys. So some of the different charts that I was talking about that you can find on the intranet, not internet. Okay, and here's one that I was talking, let's see.
Yeah, from the section that you covered today, do you have any hot spots or things that you know are going to be on the test?
No, I don't. Don't freak out about that. Don't freak out about the test. No reason to. It's easy. You'll be fine. It's not like going and taking the real estate exam. Promise you.
Okay.
Oh my God. If I ever see another exam in my life.
Don't say that, because if you want to get your broker's license, you have to do that.
I know what.
So,
I might just
serious.
stay here.
The broker's license, is it the same level as far as the getting your salesperson license? What's the differences as far as the testing?
Oh, a lot. I thought I was going to throw up.
Oh my
I
God.
really did.
For which test?
So
The brokers.
I thought I was going to throw up when I was walking in the door to take my broker's test.
Oh my God.
Because you're taking the real estate test again and the broker's.
Right, exactly. And you have to have a whole nother 60 hours of classroom time to get your broker's.
But what's the benefit?
The benefits?
Say you're just a broker?
No.
You can
have
you
agents
can work
on
in
it.
multiple offices, you can own your own brokerage.
Yeah, you can own your own brokerage, which I would never want to do because I would never have that liability. When I got my broker's license, I'm a big education junkie, so that was one of the reasons that I took the 60-hour course, because you can't get your broker's license until after you've been a licensed salesperson for 3 years.
Oh, I
3
thought
years.
It's 5 years now, I think, right?
That's
No,
3
it's,
years.
Just 3
you have
years.
to be active within the 3 to 5 years.
Oh, that's right. Active,
Okay.
active.
So, but you can sit for the 60 hours course anytime you want to. So, I took my broker's test 2 years after. I took my 60 hours and then took my broker's test 2 years after. And I passed the test, but they will not release your broker's license until that 3rd year mark. Okay. So, but you learn, all the different laws that are associated with being a qualifying broker. And so when you are a broker, like, for instance, like I said, Lynn is our qualifying broker. When I opened my office up in 2004, the owner of my office was not a broker at all. So I had to be the qualifying broker of our office. That meant I was responsible for every single thing that any agent in my office did.
Yes.
Good job.
And
Yeah.
Liability.
You gotta make sure you do certain trainings and all that, right?
Yeah, so, but I will tell you that having my broker's license, it really helped my career, because when I met with people, I could tell them,
And it's opened a lot of doors and opportunities.
It
They're
does.
always the next level.
You think you're.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
You think
Thank you.
sellers understand a real estate agent broker?
sellers and buyers don't even understand the difference between a real estate agent and a realtor.
Yeah, I still
Yeah.
don't learn that one
You
myself.
don't?
No.
I will tell you.
I've seen all those great realtor commercials.
So the difference between being a real estate agent, anybody can be an agent as long as they pass that course and pass the state test. But to be a realtor, you adhere to a higher code of ethics, and you also have to take that code, right? Not the code, you have to take the oath. And you're a member of the board now. So when you're a member of the board, the difference is, when you are a board member, you have peers around you that if a complaint was ever filed on you, right, that complaint goes to the board that you're a member of. The board, the grievance committee looks at that complaint, and now they decide whether or not they need to follow through with it. They will, trust me. So then they send the complaint over to your qualifying broker of your office. Your qualifying broker calls you and says, what's this deal? All right, now you have the opportunity to say, and make a rebuttal. You send that back to the grievance committee, and now the grievance committee says, okay, now we're going to call you in for arbitration. So you go and sit in front of 5 people that get to ask you all kinds of questions. You get to prove your case. The other person gets to prove their case. The 5th person on the arbitration board, they're only there to vote if there's a tie. But whatever the arbitration board decides, that's it, period. It cannot be rehashed, and all of that. If you're not a member of the board, then the complaint would automatically go to the commission, and you don't have anybody in your favor at all. It's just the complaint's there. Okay, so that's one thing. Being a realtor is huge, 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 especially if you get into the realm of protecting people's property rights. We're also the biggest lobbying organization in DC. So one of the things that's huge is in February, we have the Georgia Association of Realtors Convention. And in February, you could actually get to go down to the Capitol and go and talk to your representatives about the different bills that are coming down that they're trying to get passed. Okay, so you have a big say in that. In May, there's another big realtor convention in DC, which is so cool because you also get to go to the Capitol and you get to talk to your representatives up there and see the bills that are coming down. So I guess about 5 or 6 years ago, a bill was written that they were trying to pass that we as agents were going to have to get a business license in every city that we were doing business in. So that would have meant I would have had to gotten Marietta, Ackworth, Kennesaw, Dallas, Hiram, Woodstock, Canton, I would have, can you imagine the expense? So we got that squashed. We've gotten so many things squashed for sellers and property owner rights that it's crazy. Like once before, there was, do you remember what eminent domain is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So there was a zoning in a county, and he was in cahoots with the builder, so they were taking people's property. So eminent domain is supposed to only be good for the communities, which means a school or a church, a highway, something like that. So, but the zoning, they were in cahoots with the builder, and so they were taking people's property and actually like forcing them off their land. What? And building gyms and strip malls and stuff. So, we were able to help those sellers get their property rights, put back into place and get those people fired and out of there. It's just, there's so much
and we
that
have
happens
to be,
with that.
as being Keller Williams, it's $400, isn't it?
$400 a year. Yeah. Bye, John.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
we have to, Keller Williams is, it's mandatory that we
It's
join.
mandatory.
I think, isn't it a lot of brokerages?
Most
Are there any that
brokerages.
don't?
There are some brokerages. I would never ever be associated with a brokerage that does not act under the Realtor Code of Ethics. Yeah. And that's a great place to find marketing tools and advertising tools and just
Now you got
finding
our
out about
attention.
the market and all that is if you go to the National Association of Realtors website, okay? And if you've already taken your oath and everything and already joined the board, you should have what's called your NERDS number.
So what's the oath?
That you're going to abide by the
You have
rules
to
and
stand
like-
in front of somebody?
You stand
Oh,
up
okay.
and hold your hand up and take the oath.
Is that at the orientation?
That's at the orientation, and that's when you get your little realtor pin and all that.
Oh, how
Yep.
interesting.
I haven't signed up yet because Stacy was like, wait till August.
Yeah, yeah.
So I have to do that this afternoon, but, so if you haven't signed up yet,
I looked on their page and I think you have to fill out the membership.
you have to do all that. But she
Then
told
they,
me
okay, because I can't remember.
they
what-
prorate it, so she was like, don't do it.
Yeah, because you'll have to pay again in January.
Sounds fun. Oh, all these fees.
It's worth it. I promise you it's worth it. If you've ever, which I have, I've sat on grievance committee, I've sat on a grievance committee. And so if you ever, it's worth it. You wouldn't believe the things that people sue agents for. It's crazy. There was a lawsuit in regards to the master bedroom being called a master bedroom.
It's the owner's suite.
So all that stuff is put into place to protect you guys, believe it or not.
Thanks, Terry.
You're welcome.
I know Stacy was like, what? So I have, hey. Is it? It's a lot. Yes, it's such a
It's like
sad
back from the early 1900s. I mean, you would think.
I took my kids there, I was like.
So I personally think if Dunwoody was redeveloping, they need to take Sproul and Dunwoody, move it to where Austin Elementary is.
Good idea.
And then make that little restaurants and outdoor scenes and the little Roswell Square type. Because everyone wants Dunwoody Village to it. Dunwoody Village is owned by 3 Texas businesses. They're not selling. So and they're getting the rent they want. So they have no desire to create it to be that unless some big development comes in once.
There's a class where they teach you how to set up. But
County
we're in
owns.
transition right now. We're
Well, Dunwoody
doing
owns.
to the
Who
other,
owns
so
the
we're not using
library
base
and it's
anymore.
Dunwoody owns the Austin
What's called
Old
Command or something.
Charter School now.
So Command.
And
So
because if you walk in the
I'm
Dunwoody,
pretty sure they're not going to do
I would
anything now
understand.
until that
I did too.
kind of.
it was a joke.
Were you talking about creating
There was
your
nowhere
own
to sit,
website?
and I said,
Or
I
getting
just
just
need to
something
get up.
that
I was homeless. I was just like,
So you want
what
to
am I
get
doing
on
here?
Stacy.
I'm such a
Get on
little
Stacy.
girl.
She will walk you through
Everything.
everything.
Is it going to
State-of-the-art
We're talking
amazing.
about creating your website. That's what you.
I mean, I keep my kids there, like,
absolutely.
Your house is
That was sad.
It is a
Okay,
store.
so
There's no
there,
money put
you
into
want to
it.
get me Stacy.
I feel like
Find
that
out what
everywhere
her
that I
schedule
was,
is.
though. It's like,
And
we have
you're
so
gonna
much
have
money
hours
as.
where she's just gonna go through
Oh,
everything with you and make sure that you
Well,
like
it depends on what Dunwoody's saying.
Did you
Owns
got
or
this
Cat
right?
owns
Look,
They're not
this
giving a
is
shit.
something
I know,
that
Let me just tell you what
I
they
have
gave
since
for the
over
entire,
signed the contract
all
with Colorado
football, no, baseball programs.
I have it
in
here.
schools.
You haven't got anything? No.
One
Cat.
piece of baseball.
This
For all the schools.
is a sheet with
Why?
all the
One school,
passwords.
all the schools.
Okay, yeah, you got that? So that's where like FMLS should be there.
Jumbotron at their stadium.
Diane might be at her.
That's a whole other story.
Do you know who Diane is?
So FMLS has to use.
Okay, I
It's just that's what I was
Put it in.
I get.
And the same with everything.
I get that some
So I
areas
should wait
need more
to download.
support. I get that.
I understand.
And I respect that.
And
However,
once-
take care of
once you
my
have
own
those,
stuff that I get the most anyway.
you'll be able to put your passwords in easy.
I'm just disappointed. I mean,
Our library.
So the
we've only
one-
been here for
the
3 years
KW
now,
one,
and I love.
you can send this out. It'll show you a place to share it, and I send it straight to friends. And it's gonna
The
have
community,
my
like,
picture on there,
you know,
and they look.
It's just old, it needs updating.
We have nothing. We have marvelous stuff, and like you said, no brew, and it's like.
And when you text, will you text me?
Yeah.
See.
However, my husband and I did go over to the Select.
What's your number?
the other night in
941.
It's very good.
Select.
The Select. It's over by the new Art Center.
9500.
Sandy Springs Performing Arts Center over
I
there
would
in
put
the
a
North
text
area.
with it when I send it over, but I just
Really
sent
good.
the
Yeah,
link.
okay. So you
Very
just
cool
say,
ambiance,
hey,
big
I
car.
blah, blah, blah.
Well, that's Sandy Springs.
Are you
though.
on Facebook?
I know, but that's like the closest.
We have
Is-
primo
I kind
real
of
estate
kept
location.
people up to date
You
with
look
what I
at
was
all
doing
these
with real
office
estate,
spaces
not
around here, and
only
this is
my
like
gosh,
double A,
this is every
triple A office
When I was
rating,
taking
number one rating.
classes, when I took the test and I passed,
However,
when I joined Keller Williams, I would put little videos or little posts up on social
We
media
don't
saying,
own
hey,
Dunwoody
this is what's
Village.
going on.
They keep sending out
So I
these,
had like 170
surveys,
some
if
likes
Dunwoody Village
on my
could
most
be one
recent
big.
one.
Yeah.
So I ended up
I'm like,
reaching out to
do
each
you
of those
own it?
people individually,
Yeah.
like, hey,
Why
I
do
think
you
you
sell
saw
it?
Why are we
this,
having this
uh-huh.
conversation?
If I had their phone number, I text
If you're
them.
gonna buy it
If
from
not,
me,
I just
people
message
maybe
them on
will have a
Facebook.
conversation.
And I had a little
sad,
script.
sad story.
I would copy
Alright.
and
Like
paste
I'm,
it,
you know, I'm driving
like,
around
where
looking
it
at these
sounded
houses in
personal,
other
but the
areas in
beginning
Roswell
part
and
was
downtown and just that. I'm
personalized.
thinking,
So, hey Erica,
Well,
I see that
well, a
the
lot
kids
of
are having
people
fun
are
this summer. I'm sure you're
And Roswell's
throwing
got
towards
schools.
the school year starting.
Yeah,
I
well,
think
my
you
daughter
saw
goes to
that I
school in
joined
Johns
Keller
Creek,
Williams
so
and doing
it's
real
like-
estate, and then it was the blurb.
It doesn't
What
matter.
school?
And then it was a
She's
copy
at,
of everyone.
Holy
Hey,
Family.
if anyone
Oh,
has
okay.
real estate needs.
Yeah.
Feel free to
All
send
my
my
kids
way
started
to help
part of
them.
it. public, private, back public.
Yeah, I don't know.
We
how
did
to
it
answer.
Respond.
When we
don't
first moved
respond,
here,
it's
we
like
were
no big
in
deal.
three-
But you figure if you
350.
have
Yeah.
70%
So,
of people that are
That was
responding
me too.
to
That's why we started
even
private.
100
private,
people
literally
now, oh,
realizing
I saw,
that
congratulations, we'll keep
that
you in
was
mind.
that was a situation.
Then you're
because we're
like,
so
oh,
young,
they
nothing
know.
about going
I have
to
people
school.
that I don't talk to. They've
I
talked about
absolutely
this. Eddie, I think, was the guy that was talking, and he said that people every 6 or 7 days forget what you do. I don't think that's the case if you market yourself well enough. Because I have people that reach out to me like, hey, I just want to see how real estate is going. I haven't talked about it in before.
We'll be in kindergarten.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
I still think she should say something
Yeah.
rather than nothing.
Yeah, I don't remember what happened with ours.
Just for.
I was too.
Getting
And then I bumped
exposure.
into someone at the nail
Exposure.
salon,
Yeah,
another
that's
mom
it.
from the preschool, and she was like,
Yeah, I need to start setting everything up.
preschool or for
And from
kindergarten?
my
I was like,
sign, I got a buyer too. From that, from just.
No way!
It's such a
Congratulations!
busy street. What he did,
Yeah.
so he just called me, he was looking for a property that was over his budget, so I helped him through the
I
process.
know, that's what I'm saying.
So, yeah.
We're in Vanderlyn now, and it's like, I
I'm
have a
so
friend
nervous.
who
See,
is.
I'm not nervous because I know the thing.
Well, we're paying the taxes for it, I was like, you're paying all these taxes.
Right, when you talk, because I talk to people.
Yeah.
And I didn't do this, I didn't do it. So
I definitely would have started there.
You know, and it's and then I have to get the website, but I don't know if I want to do it like January, like on my own website.
I mean, to start, it's a free service. I would do it. I would just go through code. No, that's how I have mine right now.
You haven't through there.
What would be your reason for not wanting to do that?
Oh, we're definitely doing Dunwoody High, definitely. I said, we're not gonna.
Like, I want people to come on there
Yeah,
and
right.
like,
I think we should,
Because you
just
know
because
what?
we're paying for
And
it.
these public schools are so, oh, if you don't get in there, you won't get in. All on me.
I have to look at it.
I didn't say Francis.
Like my husband's like,
Were you in the
I
class
was
where
Marcus.
Naomi was speaking?
I don't know.
Go on to, write this down, go on to YouTube. Did you hear me talk about their YouTube page? Are you cleaning all that up, Sherry?
I was just straightening it up and covering it. I hate for food.
You are sweet.
Nice.
Well, no, now I'm trying to see if I can have this bag.
I know. So go to YouTube
Okay.
and then subscribe to this channel. It is,
So on agreement, right?
I think so. I'm just gonna click on it and just make sure. We're still on it. It's just KW Perimeter.
Okay.
And if you subscribe, every time that they have a recorded meeting in here, it's gonna pop up on your phone, so you can always go back through. Look at Mia's, that was the second time that they had class. And her information was really good, so she
Okay.
uses the Keller Williams site, but she's customized it.
Right, I need
And
to
it's
figure out how to do
beautiful.
it.
She did pay
Okay.
someone, I think, to customize it for
Okay.
her. But the benefit, what I'm learning, is the benefit of using the Keller Williams website is that with command, it's integrating everything. So you go on there, people, it's gonna be your face, it's not gonna be like Keller Williams, it's
Yeah.
gonna be
I
green.
looked at a couple agents' pages and it's like boring, you know, but I think they didn't do it.
They didn't do much with the
Okay,
website,
okay.
yeah, it's just a standard one.
Okay, then I need to look at it in more detail.
Yeah, I think that's the way to just do it. It's boring, to be honest.
Yeah.
Have a great one, guys.
See
You
you
too.
tomorrow. Will you be here tomorrow?
Sales meeting. Oh, yeah. Sales meeting tomorrow, and then I'll see you guys Wednesday.
Okay, see you later.
Bye.
Oh, there it is. What was that?
This is mine, which is really cool.
Did you already get your headshot?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's Mia's. I'm gonna scroll through
Oh,
there.
hello. Yeah.
It's
So
called
this
Homes
is
by
for
Mia.
Williams. They pay for the domain
Right, and she paid for all of the
customization.
beautifulization of all of it.
Okay, yeah.
Her stuff was very impressive looking.
This is what I like. Okay, now I understand.
Yeah, it's nice.
Maybe Yeah, I can now.
I don't love the green though, but I mean, that's her.
Mm-hmm.
It looks nice. I mean, it works. I mean, I like the red. I would probably do the gray, like the gray and red. This is mine here, just because red is like kind of, but it's not. I mean, it's whatever. Like it's nothing fancy at all. But I have my listing there.
Okay.
Very cool. That's
That's
awesome.
another of my listings.
That's beautiful.
Did you do that one?
Yeah.
Where
I did
is
this
that
one
one?
in Decatur.
What did you do for photos? Did you take them? Or did you
Professional.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
Next
one
door.
thing.
Next
I
door
hate
photography.
seeing
That's
that
what
stuff,
I
and
use.
then you see the person in the mirror taking your
Right.
picture. Oh my
So,
gosh, I
no,
hate
these
that.
are professional photos.
Yeah, and staging. I don't know if somebody's gonna come and talk about staging, but it's very important. And it can
I
make
do
it,
staging,
yeah.
so
That's
I kind of I staged a little bit on this property here.
So where do you get your furniture?
I have a direct contact with China, with the furniture in China, so I get a lot of furniture from them,
And then you just keep it
and I just keep it
in your basement.
Mhm.
Or, yeah.
I have a storage.
I
Yeah.
had a bunch of furniture in my basement, and I recently just went through and sold it.
And I want to talk to, I should have talked to Terry about this, because it's not selling, and I mean, it's a beautiful home.
What's it? Is it 332?
No, it's 655.
The zip code.
Oh, yeah.
32. And it's for how much?
655. But it's, the feedback I'm getting, it's a really busy street. They don't like that. That's right.
You're
on
right
the
on Chambly Dunwoody. What's the square footage?
2,955. But unfinished basement. I mean, but
What's the
it's
school?
Pleasantdale. Yeah, and it's right across the street from the charter school, the high school, Chambly.
Okay. Is it a middle school?
No, it's a high school.
You renovated it?
No.
Or somebody? Okay.
No. This is not this is a 3-year-old house.
Okay.
So it's fairly new. Look at the deck.
Look at that. I like that.
The fireplace and everything. I mean, it's a really nice house. It's just I mean, it is a really busy street.
Yeah.
And what I mean, when you get a lot of traffic around there. I mean, but there's there's market for everything, I guess.
Yeah.
There's gonna be someone that's not gonna care about that.
Right.
Without kids. I'm kind of trying to market in that area.
How long has it been on the market?
It's been already about, it's gonna be around 40 days. It's not that much.
How
but
many
still,
showings?
That's the thing. At the beginning, there was a lot of showings, and right now it
The
just
market's
stopped.
been slowing down.
It's been slowing down a lot.
Madeline Stacey, we're still live. She was recording.
And I think she was gonna go over this stuff with me too.
It's still live. It's still live. Did you want it to still record?
Get all my stuff.
You're welcome. I didn't mean to bother you. I just.
No, I'm doing I'm learning to do something that I have to teach all of y'all.
Oh, cool.
And I'm like,
Are you guys gonna be here tomorrow? For the meeting?